He awakens with a gasp. Still alive, impossible. He recognizes this place. It's a university dormitory? He isn't dead. He's been reborn. But why is this body so broken? There's not a shred of spiritual energy. His 30,000 years of cultivation vanished. Those bastards were truly ruthless. He once grew up in the exalted realm of the sword. He had earned the title of divine king of the realm. But countless experts from the Yunjo Dynasty laid siege to his throne. It all ended in betrayal and bitter hatred. Perhaps this flimsy room could never have contained their immense power. He has returned to his student days at Yunhai University. He was reborn for their misfortune. The day he reclaims his strength will be the day the Yunjo Dynasty falls. The door to the room creaks open, and a beautiful girl enters, unaware that Wu is already conscious. Her name, Li Mengyao. In a flash, he remembers why this body is so scarred. She came to return the gifts he'd given her to sever their ties completely. Wu was beaten senseless for daring to ask why she left. He was utterly humiliated for insulting a man named Tianhao. This trash knew the main character's father, who unfortunately worked for Tianhao's family. Because Wu dared to speak up, his father was fired on the spot from Tianhao's father's company. Wu coldly asks the girl if there's anything else. Li Mengyao is outraged that her pathetic ex dared to insult Tianhao, especially when he himself is so insignificant. She tells him to take a good look in the mirror. Tianhao demands that Wu and his father kneel before him and beg for forgiveness. Only then might his father get his job back. The main character's entire family relies on his father's salary, even if it's just cleaning toilets. Wu can't believe this shallow girl is the one he once cherished. The memories remain, but the feeling is gone. In his world, men of honor do not get on their knees. He and his father will kneel for no one. Li Mengyao calls his decision foolish. The protagonist then tells her to inform Tianhao to meet him whenever he pleases. The girl only came because of their past relationship. In her eyes, Wu is a fool destroying his family, so she coldly wishes him dead. Li Mengyao leaves slamming the door behind her. For Wu Fu, the path is clear. He must heal his wounds and restore his strength before facing Tianhao. Luckily, the knowledge of countless cultivation arts remains in his mind. The most suitable technique right now is the art of purification qi of the 9 underworlds. How quickly he can enter the perfect realm of qi is only a matter of time. Wu Fu must begin healing. Above his head, his star sword materializes. He thought this divine weapon was lost forever, that his enemies had claimed it. It is a sacred treasure, but in this modern era with weak qi, it's far too conspicuous. If other cultivators discovered this sword, Wu Fu would be in grave danger. His blade is also severely damaged. The protagonist's wounds have vanished. Now it's time to test his current power. He decides to do it right here. A simple fighting stance that now crackles with a sharp blade of qi. Wu Fu doesn't bother apologizing for the mess. Later, he sits in a tree cultivating energy. His current vessel's capacity is limited. Up here, the quality of qi is better, but the density of spiritual energy is still far too low for real progress. Just then, he spots 4 thugs in the park below. They're looking for Wu. One mentions that their target often comes here, but the place looks deserted. He suggests they return tomorrow and search again. But the others aren't having it. They think the man is lying to them. This man is Wang Ming, the main character's roommate and his only true friend on Earth from his previous life. Wang Ming insists that Wu has already recovered. He begs Tianhao's men to let him go, but they remind him they only spared Wu's legs last time because he begged so sincerely. In their eyes, Wu dug his own grave by acting tough in front of his ex-fiancée. There is no point in asking for mercy this time. Thinking Wang Ming has betrayed them, a scuffle breaks out. One thug sneers that Wang Ming is a loyal dog. He moves to strike him, but his friend defends himself. The thug yells that Wu has been bedridden for days and will die if he's beaten again. In that moment, the group realizes they were tricked. Wang Ming lured them here to protect his friend. Enraged, they decide to beat up Wang Ming instead. That's when Wu Fu makes his entrance. He calmly tells the bullies to leave before he gets angry. Wang Ming is stunned, yelling for his friend to run away. But the protagonist simply suggests that Wang Ming should be the one to get to safety. The lead thug is furious that Wu Fu dares to show up and hurt his brother. They move to attack the protagonist. His friend desperately shouts for him to run. But Wu Fu knows that the only ones who should be running are Tianhao's lackeys. A battle erupts. The protagonist effortlessly deflects every clumsy attack. In a flash, he disarms the third brother. He couldn't believe it. This was impossible. Just days ago, his opponent was a nobody. But today, his power felt immense. He begs Wu Fu to remember how things were, and before letting Tian go, Wu makes him promise to remember everything. With that, he and his brothers retreat. Just then, an elder passes by, misinterpreting the scene entirely. Thinking Wu is bullying the weak, he decides to teach the boy a lesson. Believing he was doing a good deed, he prepares to fight alongside the victims. But Tian quickly explains that Wu had already let them go. In that moment, Wang Ming realizes they've been mistaken for the villains. Wu Fu simply thinks the newcomer should leave them be. Our hero is certain there's no shame in a strategic retreat, especially when you are in no position to land a single blow. Wang Ming wisely takes his leave, wishing his friend luck. The elder scoffs, finding it humiliating to fight with commoners against a true cultivator. What he doesn't know is that these men have just invited disaster upon themselves. Can the perfect power of the Qi realm truly be disturbed by a few mortals? Wu Fu moves like the wind, effortlessly dodging the attack. The elder is stunned, instantly recognizing the power signature. It was the power of the imperfect Qi stage, a dangerous level. Yet Wu Fu didn't take advantage of the opening to strike back. The elder was suspicious. The young man's cultivation was 2 levels below his own, but his spiritual energy felt incredibly faint. It was an old trauma. The senior's energy channels were damaged, preventing him from ever using his full strength. But in their brief exchange, most of the damage to his channels has been repaired. How could a simple, perfect Qi cultivator possess such an ability? A trace of blood appears on the elder's lips. His subordinate sees this and flies into a rage, blaming everything on Wu. They move to capture him, finally realizing he is a cultivator. But the situation doesn't intimidate them, because they have guns. A shot shatters the silence, but Wu dodges the bullet with ease. The elder roars for them to stand down. He would not allow them to open fire. Instead, he strikes his subordinate across the face, then thanks Wu Fu for healing his old wounds. The elder deeply regretted the misunderstanding. His men were baffled. Why was their boss apologizing to a junior? Wu Fu could see the man held no real ill intent. Otherwise, the outcome of their clash could have been very different. The elder chuckles at the bold statement, but Wu Fu wasn't joking. At that moment, the man truly believed Wu was a cultivator of perfect Qi, and so he makes a desperate request to the young man. He confesses that he has a daughter whose channels are also blocked. He hopes he begs that Wu Fu will help her. His subordinate scoffs, saying even the great Duan Yan couldn't heal the young lady. He can't believe that Wu could ever accomplish such a feat. The young man thinks our hero is nothing special, just a rogue martial artist in his opinion. He urges his boss to reconsider this foolish request. Turning to Wu Fu, he sneers that even a quasi-grandmaster couldn't do anything. He suggests our hero must have a death wish, to have decided to cheat them. A sharp punch to the face from his own boss cuts him off. The elder is furious at his subordinate's arrogance, calling him a scoundrel who has suddenly become an expert. The older man asks Wu to ignore his subordinate's unforgivable rudeness, but our protagonist doesn't recall ever agreeing to help. The man's bodyguard doesn't back down, calling Wu Fu an ungrateful brat. The elder sees our protagonist has outstanding abilities. He knows that spiritual energy alone is not enough to cultivate. The boy has to agree with him on that. The man told him of his villa in the Tianfu settlement, a place overflowing with an abundance of spiritual energy. He offered his savior a place to come and cultivate there anytime he wished in exchange for helping his daughter. This was Madame Young's favorite place, perfect for the cultivation of perfect Qi. The high spiritual energy content sounds tempting to our hero. The elder adds that it's completely peaceful, so no one will be a distraction. If Wu can heal his daughter, he can ask for anything. The villa or anything else? The man believes the problem of the blocked meridians is no big deal for him. He promised to bother Wu Fu soon so he could meet his daughter. The protagonist leaves his number with the older man. The bodyguard threatens to kill Wu if he fails to cure Madame Young. Just then, the man's phone rings. An unknown voice roars that Wu had not apologized and dared to beat up his men. The man assumed it was Li Mingyao. His companion gave him 10 minutes to come and rescue the dog and Wang Ming. Wu Fu was afraid to see him, and now the man would come to him himself. Thugs with bats were hiding around the corner. They had beaten Wu once before, but this time, even if the guy's body is made of iron, he would be left incapacitated. Boss Hao tells them to stand back, or they will be splattered with blood. The boss is sitting with Li Mingyao. Wang Ming and the protagonist's dog are tied up in the corner. Wu Fu arrived at the meeting. As soon as he entered, he was attacked by men with bats, but the boy easily fought them off. Yu remembers that only yesterday, Wu was lying in bed with no strength. But the boy calmly states that was yesterday. Hao's bodyguards think that the main character must have steel armor hidden beneath his clothes. Li Mingyao stared in disbelief. How could her ex-boyfriend have recovered so quickly? He must have been hiding his power all along. Wu Fu came to rescue his friend and dog, first setting the husky free. Wang Mong thought he had been forgotten, but our hero saved him too. Suddenly, a swift attack came from behind. It was the bodyguard Tian Hao, but his strike failed miserably. The boss scoffed. The kid had skills, but that kind of strength was nothing. He gave the order, beat Wu Fu to death. His goons rushed forward, but the protagonist effortlessly shoved them all aside. He offered to fight Tian Hao and his ex-girlfriend together, but they flinched, shaking their heads in refusal. Now they were even. Wang Meng couldn't believe this was his old friend. Li Mingyao, however, sneered, completely unimpressed by his new skills. To her, scum would always be scum. "Shut up!" Tian Hao roared at her. It seemed the girl enjoyed being yelled at. She secretly wished Wu Fu would just die. At that moment, the protagonist's dog lifted its leg and peed right on her. A stranger burst into the room. She was outraged that Wu had caused such chaos on her property and wanted to settle things with a fight. She saw his sword manifestation its power, shockingly destructive. She was amazed that so much trouble could come from a single cultivator of perfect qi. Tian Hao warned her, "This is the guy who beat up all my guards." The husky, meanwhile, decided to affectionately rub against the girl's leg. Wu noted her incredible speed. She moved faster than a bullet. He was definitely no match for her speed. Wu blocked her powerful blow Li Mingyao couldn't understand when he had become so strong. Tian Hao wasn't surprised Wu stopped the attack. After all, he was a cultivator. The girl assumed the protagonist wouldn't be able to resist. But Wu Fu saw it clearly. Her talent was amazing, but her mistake was all too obvious. Now he wasn't just a cheat. He was a pervert in her eyes. She tried to use her spiritual energy, but found it was sealed. It was Wu Fu who had blocked it. She demanded he return things to normal. Our hero promised he would, but not yet. Tian Hao was completely baffled. What did his opponent want? The girl insisted this was the Shu family's territory, and they had no right to make such a mess here. Wu asked the guards to tell her who started all the trouble. They all pointed to Tian Hao. It was he who forced them to fight Wu. She realized she had been lied to. Wu Fu offered Tian Hao a chance to apologize, but he refused. A fist crashed into his face, making his anger boil over. He vowed to get rid of the protagonist and ruin his entire life. Wu Fu explained that if he wanted revenge, he could find him any time. But for now, he had to apologize. The daughter of the establishment's owner was furious. How could Tian Hao not apologize for causing a ruckus on her family's property? The man struggled to force out an apology. Wu ordered him to leave. Li Mingyao ran after Tian Hao to calm him down, but the man violently rejected her. It wasn't easy for her to land such a rich, tough guy. She couldn't let Wu Fu ruin it all. That bastard ex-boyfriend of hers. The protagonist said goodbye to the girl with the hammer, saying he still had things to do. He was certain they would meet again. The girl then remembered that Wu Fu still hadn't unsealed her spiritual energy. How was it possible for someone in the realm of perfect qi to do that, while Tian Hao went to see his friends? His face bruised. They couldn't imagine who was brave enough to do such a thing. Tian Hao asked his older brother to help him, teach someone a lesson. His brother Bao was stunned. The second young master of the He family had been challenged by someone. This person probably had no idea who his older brother Changgang was. The younger brother claimed he was beaten by some trash. He asked that Wu Fu not be killed too quickly. Tian Hao wanted the protagonist to truly understand the consequences of hurting him. The protagonist's enemies had lived for 1,000 years, and even if they had cultivated the atmosphere, he must remain calm and take his time. Just then, members of the school basketball team stormed into the classroom. They were shocked to see Wu still going to class. They thought he was insane. It turned out Tian Hao's older brother is a star on the basketball team. Wu had insulted him, not thinking about the consequences. The main character's classmates believed their class was never quiet because of him. They thought Wu should apologize and never be seen by Tian Hao again. As a result, Wu Fu was pitted against everyone in his class and the entire basketball club. The classmates didn't want to get involved. They wouldn't take the blame for him. To them, he was like a mouse ruining a whole pot of porridge. If Wu wins, they'll leave him alone. Wang Ming begged him not to accept the challenge. He had never played basketball before, but Wu thought the game was far too easy for him. If he loses, the protagonist will have to call him daddy. And if he wins, it will be the other way around. All the students wanted to watch this competition. Wu Fu knew he could accept defeat, but it would never be an insult for him. It doesn't matter who wins or loses. The important thing is not to give up. The crowd doubted that the fatty stood a chance. Could this man and 2 gnomes actually defeat the great Chaoshun? His name echoed from the stands. He's the basketball club president, and his father is the school principal. It was bound to be a crushing defeat. Chaoshun is Tian Hao's best friend, and Wu Fu insulted them both. Now his classmates whisper that he'll surely be expelled. But forget winning or losing, the terms are set. Both sides sit down for a 30-minute game. The team with the highest score takes the victory. The match begins. 3 balls sink effortlessly into Wu Fu's basket. Chaoshun's fans cheer from the stands, while Wang Ming thought they stood no chance. Even the referee was biased, handing the ball to Chaoshun to start the game, but Wu Fu just smiled at his friend. The game had only just begun. In a flash, Wu Fu proved to be a phantom on the court, bypassing opponents and leaving them in the dust. He sank several goals in a row. The crowd stared in disbelief. No one expected this kind of reversal. The score is now 17-20. Xiaoxun's face twisted with rage. Wu Fu completely shut down his every attempt to score. The spectators could only watch as the elite basketball club was utterly humiliated. No one dreamed the main character was hiding this level of skill. Now it's just the two of them against 8. Xiaoxun scores taunting Wu Fu to either change his team or finally show his true power. There's no way 2 players can beat 8. The basketball team starts cheating openly, with only 10 minutes left. On the clock, the real battle begins. Chao's team tries to block Wu Fu, but the boy slips through their grasp and prevents them from scoring. Xiaoxun never even saw his opponent appear right in front of him. From his own side of the court, Wu Fu scores again. The basketball team thinks it's some kind of trick. Xiaoxun believes it's just a lucky shot, a complete fluke. He refuses to accept his opponent could be this skilled. The score is now 35-23. Wang Meng roars with excitement. Xiaoxun begs his team to stop Wu Fu, but it's useless. The crowd is now chanting for the 2-man army. The basketball team insists that no matter how fast he is, it's too late to change the outcome. But they were wrong. Wu Fu's team wins 42-31. Some students still call him trash, completely baffled by his hidden strength. The man Xiaoxun despised had just shamed him in front of everyone. The disgraced team turned to leave the field, but Wu Fu's voice stopped them. Have you forgotten something? The protagonist wants his brother Chao to honor their bet and call him dad. The members of the basketball club look ready to end Wu Fu's life. This daddy can't accept a son who shows no loyalty. Xiaoxun refuses to abide by the terms of their deal. A fight instantly breaks out and the protagonist dominates them all. Soon, only Xiaoxun and Wu Fu are left standing face to face. The basketball club captain wants to flee from this humiliating loss, but he still has a debt to pay. Xiaoxun finally realizes his opponent is on another level. He's certain the protagonist will regret this day, but Wu Fu insists and Xiaoxun chokes out the word. Daddy. The protagonist smirks, saying there's no more useless son in the world than Chao, and walks away. Wang Meng rushes over, warning his friend to be careful of the loser's powerful connections. Later, Wu Fu focuses on cultivating his energy. There are 3 types of the 9 meditations divided into low, medium, and high-order gasification environments. To break through, he needs to find a place with an incredibly strong aura. Just then, Wang Ming bursts into the room, announcing a class hike. He urges Wu Fu to join them. Their campsite is near Tianfu Huayuan, a place surrounded by mountains and lakes. The nature there is absolutely stunning. More importantly, it'll be packed with beautiful girls. Wu Fu recognized the name of the place immediately. Wang Ming added that it's a famous retreat for most of the wealthy elite in Yunhai City. It's a gorgeous and renowned spot. Wu Fu, who had nearly reached the first stage, knew this was the perfect opportunity. He agreed, but asked his friend to handle the registration for him. Wang Ming was more than happy to help. Soon the class was on its field trip, but many classmates were not, pleased that the 2 friends had come along. Meng Yao's girlfriend remarked that Wu Fu is quite bold, having not only insulted Tian Hao, but also defeated Xiaoxun. The girl sneered, saying she was just toying with her ex's feelings anyway. She thinks Wu Fu is completely unworthy. Meng Yao bets that Wu Fu won't last more than a few days. The guy simply ignores their petty remarks. The girl is confident her boyfriend will make sure Wu Fu never gets out of bed again. Wang Meng just gazes out at the breathtaking scenery, a resort that truly deserves its title as the most luxurious in Yunhai City. Suddenly, Wu Fu tells the driver to stop the bus. His friend warns him that they haven't arrived at the campsite yet. The boy simply replies that he needs to stop at a friend's house. He tells Wang Meng not to worry and promises to find him later. From Meng Yao's perspective, he's just trying to act tough when he's clearly out of his league. His classmates agree, shouting after him to make sure he doesn't get lost. Wang Ming realizes how much people enjoy looking down on others. Just then, Wu Fu calls him, saying he's already there. A man's voice on the other end says his daughter is waiting and that he's coming out to greet his guest. The protagonist is then invited inside a grand mansion. The spiritual energy here is incredibly dense. It seems to the boy that this place will be more than enough to achieve his breakthrough, and so we enter the domain of Elder K, who introduces his daughter. But wait, they recognize each other. It's her, the fiery girl from the bar. She stares in absolute shock. Her father is introducing her. To that pervert, Wu can't believe it either. This is the person Shuing Shan needed help with, and she's horrified to hear her father call him Master. You need not look for anyone else, Wu states calmly. I am here. Her eyes narrow with distrust. She senses he's up to no good, and she refuses to be intimidated by his reputation. Wu explains he's here to perform a healing, but she scoffs at the idea. How could a mere chi cultivator possibly help her? Her father quickly interjects, warning her not to judge a book by its cover. This young man's abilities are beyond imagination. His hands are what's out of bounds, she retorts, calling Wu nothing more than a common creep. Just then, Shuing-shan arrives with medical supplies. A generous offering, even though our main character never asked. Wu recognizes them instantly, excellent materials for cultivation. But Miss Young is unconvinced. To her, he's not just a pervert but a charlatan too. She vows to watch his every move. Wu smirks, confident the elder's daughter's ailment is simple. These rare materials are overkill. Even the grandmasters my grandfather hired failed, she declares. Your tongue is awfully bold for a mere chi cultivator. The elder's guard agrees, eyeing Wu like a common crook. Shuing-shan wonders if this was all a mistake. His daughter's meridians have been sealed for years. Not even primordial spirit grandmasters could fix it. How could this boy possibly succeed? But Wu considers himself an expert in divine retribution. He believes no mere primordial spirit could ever surpass his own power. With a single touch, he channels his energy. Her father panics, fearing for her very life. He demands to know Wu's true identity. But then, Qing-Qing's spiritual energy flows freely again. Her blockages are gone. She's been cured. Shuing-shan orders his guard to lower his weapon. He admits his own arrogance. Wu Fu's power is undeniable and utterly mysterious. The old man has to know. Who is your master? He asks. A memory flashes through Wu's mind. A past life flames and a teacher who saved him from death's door. My master has not yet descended upon this earth, Wu reveals. The old man is taken aback but respectfully accepts his silence. The girl just mutters, is he an alien or something? True to his word, Shu Ying-shan presents the key to a grand estate. He adds that if Wu ever needs anything, he can call upon him for help. After all, he still has influence in Yunhai City. But Qing-Qing adores the house and begs her father not to give it away. Offer him something else, she pleads. Her father scolds her for acting like a child. Wu simply states he only needs a place for cultivation. He tells the family they are welcome to stay. Later, Wang Mong sits on a park bench enjoying his youth. He glances at some passing girls, but they just scoff and walk away. He sighs annoyed that his friend is late. Suddenly, he spots Xiao, his friend's dog. The energetic pup crashes right into a woman. Her expensive belongings scatter across the ground. Wu quickly apologizes, offering to pay for the damages. Pay, she scoffs. You couldn't afford it, even if we sold you. Her friend chimes in. Isn't his buddy from Tianfu? A little expense is nothing to him. A crowd gathers, judging him as some arrogant rich kid throwing his weight around. He's just putting on an act, the girl snarls. Wang Ming apologizes once more. Then Wu Fu calmly holds out a thick stack of cash. Will this be enough? He asks. His old classmates stare their jaws on the floor, especially Li Mengyao, his ex, who can't wait to see him fail. A broke loser pretending to be someone he's not. She marches up to Wu. What do you think you're doing? The boy just smirks. If you want to play games Meng Yao, you'll end up with nothing left. He tells her to watch her mouth. She scoffs, vowing he'll regret his arrogance soon enough. Her new boyfriend would see to that. Dark clouds begin to gather overhead. With the next bus not until morning, they had nowhere to go. Meng Yao calls her boyfriend for a ride. He agrees to pick her up, but there's only room for a few people. That's when Wu Fu casually mentions he has a house in Tianfu. He offers them shelter from the coming storm. No one believes him for a second. Is that true? Wang Mang whispers. I just got it today, Wu replies. We can head there now. Meng Yao decides to call his bluff. The whole class follows him to the gates of a luxurious estate. Seeing the guards, she smirks. Get ready for a show, she whispers. The others agree. He was about to be humiliated. They were sure he would try to sneak in. They'd better think of another plan while Wu Fu made a fool of himself. Let's just go back, Wang Mang suggests. But then a guard steps forward, bowing deeply. Mr. Wu, the guard greets him respectfully. Everyone's world just came to a crashing halt. Impossible, they all thought as they stepped inside. In the courtyard, Wang Mang smirked. This mansion was the perfect spot to impress some beauties. When Wu Fu invited everyone inside, they never dreamed what would happen next, but it was all real. When Ming Yao first met our main character, she saw nothing but a worthless bum. She had no idea. This bum was the secret owner of a grand estate. Wu told the guard these people were his guests, all of them except the red-haired girl. She was left standing outside. Furious, Ming Yao turned to her new boyfriend, demanding that he crush her ex Tian Hao. But Tian Hao already had his own scheme. He craved revenge for the humiliation of being struck by Wu Fu. Inside, the classmates were buzzing, eager to snap photos in this luxurious villa. One of them guessed, this must be the mansion of Shu Qing-Qing, the third-year senior. The students called out to a girl on the second floor, asking who the real owner was, but she remained silent. Someone joked she looked like a stunning hotel manager. Wang Meng was baffled. How could his friend hide something this massive? As night fell, Wu Fu announced to his guests to pick any room and rest. But one girl scoffed. She figured Wu Fu would be thrown out the moment the real owner showed up. How could a poor loser possibly afford a mansion in Tianhan? She was certain it belonged to Shu Qing-Qing. Wu Fu simply agreed. The house once belonged to the He family, but now it was his. The classmates weren't convinced. They insisted on getting permission from the real owner, planning to ask Qingqing's older sister themselves. But another boy stepped in. Wu Fu had graciously let them stay, so why make things awkward? He declared that if they had a problem, Wang Meng would happily show them the door. The other girls were furious. They glared at the senior sister, annoyed by her silence. Who did this classmate think he was acting so high and mighty? Just another poser trying to act cool. Finally, the senior sister spoke. Qingqing herself shouted down at the girl, ordering her to come down immediately. The girl tried to blame Wu Fu, stammering excuses, but Qingqing cut her off. It wasn't Wu Fu telling her to leave. It was Qingqing. The senior then confirmed it all. This was Wu Fu's mansion, and anyone he told to leave had to get out. Now. The students were utterly stunned. The girl then offered to personally escort them to the exit. Everyone left except for Wang Meng. Later, Qingqing couldn't sleep from the noise while Wang Meng marveled, thinking his friend was dating a powerful rich beauty. Meanwhile, Wu Fu focused on his energy. He had broken through to the middle stage of the Qi realm. In his past life, it took him 3 long years just to enter the Qi realm. He never imagined he could advance this far, in just a matter of days. Suddenly, his dog Xiaohei barked outside. The Star Sword had manifested. The boy suspected. His companion had found something incredible. Xiaohei had discovered the hilt of the Star Sword. In his past life, Wu Fu searched countless star systems, just to forge this single legendary blade. To see it again after his rebirth, it was a miracle. He was overjoyed to be reunited with his true sword. The real Star Sword he had personally created was returning. An ominous laugh escaped his lips, because once this sword was reforged, all his enemies would be lining up for their deaths. It made no difference. If they had perfected martial arts or been ordained by the heavens, he would destroy them all. Back in the classroom, the president of the martial arts club returned. She had rested long enough. It was time to get back to business. This was Qingqing. She asked the club members if any of them knew a student named Wu. One of the girls spoke up. Wu Fu, a freshman transfer student. He was the one who insulted He Tianhao and got surrounded outside the school gate. It looked like his time was up. Qingqing replied coldly that she didn't know him, and if he crossed the He family, he deserved to die. At that moment, Wu Fu was surrounded by thugs armed with bats. Their leader was Tianhao's man, Brother Bao. Wu Fu told them to cut the chatter and get on with it. He had a class to get to. The thugs charged our protagonist, but he effortlessly deflected their attacks. Wu Fu sighed. He thought Tianhao would at least hire real fighters, but he just sent a bunch of weaklings. Brother Bao, however, was cautious. The kid who dared to punch the second young master of the Yi family couldn't be ordinary. 2 thugs grabbed the protagonist from behind. Brother Bao was confident. No one would dare defy him now, but Xiaohei leapt to defend his master. He bit down hard on the big man's leg. In return, the thug kicked the dog aside, promising that his master would spend the rest of his life crippled in a bed. Meanwhile, Qingqing told her club members to call an ambulance for the bandits, because the truth was, Wu Fu was no pushover. The boy's aura flared as he broke free from their grip. Brother Bao scoffed, thinking he was still trying to act tough. But with a single move, Wu Fu sent the thugs flying. The big guy threw a punch, only to get slammed in return. Other bandits rushed in to help and suffered the exact same fate. The gang was in shock. How could this kid be called trash? He was more like a demon from the underworld. Wu Fu ordered the terrified thugs to pick up Brother Bao and follow him. One of them desperately tried to make an excuse, claiming it was his grandmother's wedding day when a girl ran up into the martial arts club, breathlessly reporting Wu's defiance. He never took Brother Ba to meet Tana Qingqing worries. The He family should just pray that He Tiangong returns soon. Meanwhile, Jusu is stunned to hear his friend actually hired Dabo to eliminate Wu. He's convinced the main character's life is forfeit. Elsewhere, Ming Yao reads a message from Wu. He's thanking Tanha for letting him live this long. She scoffs, certain that soon the name Wu will vanish from Yunhai University. Trash like him, she thinks deserves no prayers. But just then, the door slams open. Wu stands there casually carrying Dabo's unconscious body. "Are you looking for me?" he asks coldly, or your friend Tianhao is speechless. How is this even possible? The seniors are furious. How dare this freshman enter without knocking? His blatant disregard for his upperclassmen is an insult. "Get on your knees," they command. "We won't ask a second time." For their arrogance, they get a fist to the face. "This has nothing to do with you," Wu states flatly, "so stay out of it." The students are shocked by his audacity. Since when did this freshman become such a terrifying fighter? Wu Fu hands his dog to Qingqing, asking her to watch it. She's clearly not thrilled with the task. Chan steps forward. "You should be careful," he warns. "This is a school after all. Stirring up trouble here is a bad idea." He smirks, thinking Wu Fu is scared. The main character simply tells him to run and hide before he's the one who gets angry. Enraged, the seniors grab chairs and attack. They swing wildly at Wu and their assault lands. The main character warns Jun, "If you don't want to die, get out of here now." The basketball captain swears he'll get his revenge. Ming Yao then asks her ex what he thinks he's doing. Tanha sneers, telling Wu not to be arrogant when he has no real power. He boasts that his family's position in Yunhai is unshakable, but Wu doesn't care for his rant and dismisses him with a wave. Wu Fu then turns to Ming Yao. He'll accept her revenge any time, but he asks her not to bring such low-class trash with her next time. Qingqing, however, isn't so confident. She knows Wu Fu can't possibly defeat Tianhao's older brother, Hitiangang. In her eyes, the main character is in serious trouble, but Wu just smirks. We'll see who's really in trouble. Elsewhere, Tianhao begs his father to help him kill Wu. His father already knows everything and will return to Yunhai shortly. He wants to meet this Wu in person. No one in Yunhai would dare to tarnish his family's reputation. He tells his son to rest easy in his hospital bed. Suddenly, a man enters. He reports that Wu Fu has just reached the chess sphere. He promises that in a few days he will make the one who tormented Tianhao disappear from this world. Meanwhile, Wang Mong bursts into the main character's room. "Trouble's here," he shouts. Zhou Shun has brought people from the discipline committee, and his uncle is the head. He offers to help Wu hide, but it's already too late. Zhou Shun and his uncle are blocking the doorway. The man immediately accuses Wu. He claims Wu Fu conspired with outsiders to bully classmates and even snuck a dog into the dorms. He declares that the boy must have a hobby of breaking rules. Wang Mong tries to defend him, shouting that Tianhao started it all, but Zhou Shun silences him. "No one asked for your opinion." The hero realizes talking is useless with these people. To them, money is the only real power. So Wu Fu decides to settle this another way by thrashing the uninvited guests. Zhou Shun's uncle turns out to be completely worthless in a fight. His nephew begs Wu Fu for mercy, but our hero just tells them to get lost and offers them some help. The uncle sputters that he'll report this to the school. He swears Wu Fu will be severely punished. Then, abandoning his own nephew, the uncle flees the scene. Wang Mong sighs, thinking they've really gone too far this time. The next day, 3 teachers enter the classroom. One of them has a grave announcement. He states that a certain first-year student has shattered school rules. He disrespected a teacher and put the student He Tanha in a hospital bed. Rumors are already flying through the school. Everyone knows Tianhao called in thugs to deal with Wu, but it was Wu who demolished them instead. After intense negotiations, the school administration has reached a decision. They have decided to expel Wu Fu from the school. An example must be made so others won't dare break the rules. The classmates know this is absurd. Tianhao started the whole mess, but he walks free, all because his best friend's uncle is the disciplinary headmaster. Zhou Shun smirks, confident he can ruin the main character's life in an instant. The teacher asks if Wu Fu has anything to say in his own defense. "As a matter of fact, I do," he replies. Just then, Shuing enters the classroom. The teacher tries to send her away, but she stands her ground. Since she opened the martial arts club, she declared she would protect its members. And Wu Fu is one of her students. She presents the beaten Dabo as evidence. These thugs came to attack Wu Fu, not the other way around. Qingqing confronts Zhou Shun directly. "You didn't have the strength to beat Wu," she declares. "So now you're trying to get revenge like this." But she and the entire martial arts club disagree. The main character thinks their intervention is unnecessary, but he still thanks them. Qingqing reminded him, "Without my help, you never would have proven your innocence." But Wu simply replied it was child's play. He prepared to use his transformation. But his teacher stormed in, shouting that this was a school. If he didn't stop this instant, he would call. The police Zhaoshan piled on, sneering that Wu had no evidence to clear his name. The teacher was terrified knowing Shu Qingqing was the school's treasure. If her family applied pressure, Wu would be crushed. He turned on our hero, calling him a powerless show-off. But Wu Fu wasn't even listening. He had already tuned Jushin out. With a simple tap of 2 fingers to Jushin's head, the boy began to scream. His uncle stared in disbelief, clueless as to what just happened. The other students were completely baffled by the boy's cries. "He did this to me," Jushin shrieked. The disciplinarian erupted in fury. How dare a student attack another right in front of him? But the protagonist calmly asked, "Do you have any proof I did anything at all?" That's when Qingqing realized what had happened. It was a controlled energy release Jushin finally broke, admitting he was wrong. Wu thought that a man like him didn't deserve his name. Zhaoshan begged to be released from the pressure. Wu told him to speak the truth, and he confessed everything. It was Tiha who told the students to obstruct Wu. The disciplinary director, trying to save face, announced that the case needed further investigation. After all, hasty conclusions are often wrong. But Qingqing demanded honesty and justice. For the members of her martial arts club, which had just accepted Wu the headmaster, was floored. When had this nobody gotten close to the mighty Shu family? He quickly promised the committee would be fair and impartial. But Wu Fu himself was completely confused. When did he ever join the martial arts club? Qing Qing called him ungrateful, explaining she did it so the committee would stop targeting him. She warned him of his enemy's influence in Yunhai, but at that moment, Wu simply walked out of the office. The girl was fuming. Did her friend really think he could solve this with his skills alone? Our protagonist returned to his room to find his roommate gone. A message from Wang Meng explained he was out repairing shoes. So Wu Fu took his dog for a walk. At that same time, Qing Qing was sunbathing by the pool when she spotted Xiao, which meant Wu was nearby. She resolved to catch the pervert. But Wu had lost sight of his dog and was searching everywhere when suddenly he had to dodge, a storm of knives flying his way. He had no idea who attacked him. A stranger emerged from the shadows, certain that meeting him was a death sentence. Because today you die. The battle began. The stranger was stunned to see Wu, blocking his blades with his bare hands. This kid had some real power. Wu sighed. I haven't faced a worthy opponent since my rebirth, so I suppose you'll have to do. The guy was enraged that a mere chi sphere cultivator would dare to insult him. He called Wu bold and foolish. Our protagonist, however, worried he might kill his opponent if he fought back seriously. The man scoffed, thinking Wu was just playing tough before his death. But then Wu formed a sword of pure chi to attack his opponent. This was clearly not the power of a cultivator at the chi sphere level. Who are you? He demanded. Wu replied that a stranger like him wasn't worthy of knowing. Qing Qing knew that Wu Fu had the power of a mid-stage chi sphere, but he could fight someone at a much higher level. This man stood no chance. Desperate, the attacker grabbed Qing Qing, assuming she was Wu Fu's girlfriend. Our protagonist simply explained, "She is not my girlfriend." Qing Qing was furious. Was he completely lacking in human compassion? Still, she wasn't worried because she could easily stand up for herself. As the expert began forming an energy ball, the members of her martial arts club heard a massive explosion in the building. They worried that their president was inside. An outsider begged Qing Qing to spare his life. She knew all she had to do was wiggle her fingers to end him. She almost laughed that this fool had decided to take her hostage. But then the stranger used a poisoned needle on Qing Qing, hitting her right in the neck. The girl fell to the ground. In a flash of rage, Wu Fu used his sword chi, slitting the stranger's throat, despite his pleas for mercy. But Qing Qing couldn't survive without the antidote. She whispered that she didn't want to die. The protagonist promised she wouldn't die as long as he was there. He carefully removed the needle from her neck poison still on it. The girl felt a warm rush of spiritual energy. With no other choice, Wu Fu decided to suck out the poison himself. At this very moment, members of the martial arts club burst into the room. They completely misunderstood the situation and said they were on their way out, backing away slowly. The girl, now fine, thanked her savior. Wu knew the attackers were really after him. Saving Qing Qing was his duty. There was no need for thanks. The girl then asked him to be more brave. Meanwhile, Meng Yao, at the hospital with her boyfriend, a call suddenly comes through. It's He Tianhao's father demanding to be put on speaker. His voice booms with arrogance, ordering Wu Fu to kneel at school in 3 days and apologize. This, he declares, is his final warning before hanging up. Qing Qing seethes, noting the He family acts untouchable because of their powerful backing. Wu Fu just tells her not to worry. They will face them head on. This only infuriates Tianhao, who can't believe some scum dared to demand an apology from him. His father reassures him, promising a master will arrive in 2 days to eliminate Wu Fu for good. Later, back in their dorm room, Wu Fu and Wang Meng are ambushed. The karate club storms in, their intentions clear. The main character's roommate panics, but Wu Fu doesn't even recognize these thugs. They announce they're here to teach him a lesson, on behalf of their president. They know Wu Fu hurt their president's family. And that president is none other than He Tianhao. With their boss in the hospital, this new thug is leading the charge, barking that Wu Fu isn't even worthy of speaking the president's name. Wu Fu merely scoffs, calling Tianhao another pile of trash. Wang Meng warns his friend to be careful, but Wu Fu sees them as no real threat. His arrogance fuels their rage, and they vow to send him to the hospital. The main character simply challenges them to step up if that's their goal. Enraged, 2 of them lunge forward. Wu Fu finds their moves rash and amateurish. But then the vice president, a man called Dracula, steps forward. He's also a cultivator. Wu Fu senses a flicker of real power, but it's not enough. He easily shoves his opponent back toward the exit. Just then, Qing Qing bursts in, landing a powerful kick on the acting president's back, catching him completely by surprise. Stunned by this turn of events, he hears her ask who gave him permission to bully a member of her club. He tells her to mind her own business, but she knows this is about the He family. The martial arts club, she declares, is always ready to fight. The karate thug sneers that trash is still trash, disgusted that Wu Fu is hiding behind a woman. He challenges Wu Fu to a one-on-one duel. Wang Ming pleads with his friend not to be a fool and fall for the provocation. Qing Qing also warns him. His opponent is a higher-level cultivator, and this is far too reckless. Seeing their concern, the main character agrees to the one-on-one fight. The karate club members think he's an idiot. They agree to meet at the stadium in the afternoon. The karate members wish their vice president luck as they leave. The main character tells his neighbor that he only agreed because it sounds like fun. Ching reveals the opponent Ching Yunjia is notoriously vicious and begs Wu Fu not to go. She says if he loses, he will disgrace the name of the martial arts club. This confuses the main character who can't remember when he ever joined. Ching simply explains that he's in the club because she said so. He calls her childish, but she retorts that her club communicates through the language of power. Besides, Ching Yunjia is also a member of the martial arts club now. Wang Mong despairs, feeling like their dog gets more respect than him. Meanwhile, He Tianhao and Meng Yao gathered with the karate club at the school stadium. Tianhao gives Yunxia a set of sinister needles left over from previous assassination, their purpose to kill Wu Fu. Tianhao needs to witness his enemy's death with his own eyes. His friend boasts he can easily defeat the main character with these needles. The group has been waiting for half an hour, and still he's missing. They assume he has run away. The karate club members suggest they should just call in more people to easily crush the main character. But Tianhao reminds them he wouldn't be in this wheelchair if numbers mattered. Just then, Wu Fu and Ching arrive. The main character calmly reminds them he's still waiting for an apology from Tianhao. The guy scoffs back that he'll never get one. Yunxia is outraged that some nobody cultivator dares to speak so boldly to him. He forms a ball of energy. The girl gives Wu Fu one last warning. If he can't win, he must accept defeat. Wu Fu just asks her to look after his dog. Yunxia is certain his opponent will not leave here alive. He attacks with a flurry of poison needles. Yunxia knows a ball of qi can condense into weapons, but not perfectly. In response, Wu Fu unleashes his own power. The Star Sword. In a single blinding flash, he cuts his opponent down. The crowd is stunned into silence, and the karate club members run away in terror. Tianhao asks his girlfriend to get him out of there, but the main character blocks their path. Tianhao never expected his opponent to be so overwhelmingly strong. He finally admits his guilt and apologizes, begging for mercy and promising never to cause trouble again. But Wu Fu says he has lost his chance for forgiveness. Now it is far too late to apologize. Wu Fu kills his tormentor with one of his own poisoned needles. Tianhao gasps for an antidote, but no one has one. Meng Yao says that her boyfriend never even dealt with her ex's death. She believes that even if Tianhao had lived, he would have been useless. The girl asks Wu Fu if he plans to kill her too, but he replies that she will only feel true despair if she remains alive. For the hatred he carries from a past life, she will pay him back double. The teacher then gives the student one of the 3 great treasures of the Zhangyang sect, the heart sword impossibly sharp. For this boy, only one path remains. The path of vengeance is the only way he can find peace. He sees this as his training in the outside world. His teacher preaches an eye for an eye, urging him to return victorious. Elsewhere, Ming Yao is convinced that death is better than enduring this endless suffering. She cannot bear the humiliation. Even in the afterlife, she will never forgive her ex-boyfriend. But she is stopped by Tiangan, whose younger brother was recently killed. The girl believes Wu Fu is responsible for her downfall. Our hero, fresh from a shower, is focused on a breakthrough. He must shatter the shackles of the Qi sphere realm. In his past life, his master concocted a mixed spirit pill to help him ascend. He may lack that pill now, but with his nourishing Qi, he has absolute confidence. Suddenly, from outside the bathroom door, a woman's voice cuts through the silence, telling him not to lick it. He has no idea who it could be. The girl tells Xiao to stop offering Wu Fu a seat on the bed beside her. But that bed already belongs to our protagonist. Annoyed, the girl points out she already took the initiative to find him. She demands a little more enthusiasm. Wu Fu is completely baffled by what she wants from him. The girl wants to test his power, but he gives no reaction. The protagonist tells her to stop her games. Suddenly, she notices Wu Fu's swords are completely silent. She couldn't sense them at all, even though he'd been using them from the start. Wu Fu had reached the very pinnacle of his realm. The Qi ball had pushed him to the absolute limit. It seems the breakthrough was already underway. The girl scoffs that the dorms have such pathetic spiritual energy. It's the worst place for a cultivator to attempt a breakthrough. Wu Fu retorts that he wouldn't have to if her little inspection hadn't ruined his plans. She smirks, reminding him she's the student council representative. If any student causes a ruckus in the dorms, she is obligated to investigate. The girl then asks our protagonist if he's prepared the necessary pills. She's stunned that he has nothing prepared for such a critical moment. Wu Fu simply states he doesn't need them. He absorbs all spiritual energy within a 10-meter radius. She can't believe it. Cultivators at the Qi sphere realm shouldn't be capable of such a feat. In that moment, Wu Fu breaks through. Meanwhile, he and Big Sister Shu are being watched. Students are spying through the peephole, Wang Mong among them. Suddenly, the doors swing open, revealing Wu Fu to the onlookers. Wang Mong praises her friend for a job well done, asking him to bring her some clothes. At the Shu family home, everyone was anxiously waiting for Wu Fu, but he was running late. Uncle Ching Ching grumbled that the boy was arrogant despite only being at the stage of forming a chi ball. But the girl teases her uncle, claiming her friend was far stronger than him, the grandfather. Reminded her that Wu Fu had saved Ching Ching's life twice. They would wait all day if they had to. At that moment, Wu Fu was walking toward them through the forest with Xiao at his side. He knew two shadows were tailing him. He couldn't understand why they hadn't revealed themselves yet. The two assassins taunted the protagonist. Since he was only at the chi sphere stage, he should have fled to a crowded place to cry for help. Instead, he led them right into this secluded forest. But the boy just smiled, revealing he was already in the metamorphosis stage. They had been sent by Tianggan to avenge his younger brother's death. He only asked them to investigate, but bringing back Wu Fu's head would be even better. Ching Ching senses something is terribly wrong. Her friend still hasn't arrived. Suddenly, Xiao bursts into the house alone. The girl desperately asks the dog where its master is. Xiao grabs her sleeve, pulling her toward the door. The message was clear. She had to follow him. Wu Fu was in grave danger. At that moment, our hero was locked in combat with two powerful fighters. The assassins are shocked. How could Fu Wo have already reached the metamorphosis stage? Their intel on him was critically flawed. Ching Ching is certain her friend is in danger, fighting two cultivators from the metamorphosis stage. She wants to rush to his aid, but her grandfather stops her. Wu Fu has already shattered the chi sphere stage. Grandpa can feel the overwhelming energy radiating from Wu's broken sword. Above our protagonist's head, a true sword hilt materializes. It seems his enemies are looking down on him again, sending another batch of worthless trash. The attacker's information was a death sentence. Wu Fu's transformation object looks just like the legendary faction treasure. Our protagonist gives his opponent no chance to escape. He kills him with a single decisive blow. Xiao rushes to his master's side. Ching Ching decides to shame her third brother, who boasted he could defeat 10 opponents like Wu Fu. But he feels no shame at all, casually commenting on the roundness of the moon. Xiao devoured the dead man's spirit stone. The stone had become a snack brimming with potent energy. The boy was thrilled that his dog had consumed it. The power caused Xiao's teeth to instantly change, becoming far sharper. A black car pulls up before the Shu family estate. The two assassins were supposed to scout Wu's abilities and report back, but it was already taking far too long. 3 furious men spill out of the car, their voices booming. "Get out here, Wu! You have the blood of our people on your hands." Tianggan never expected to face Master Su here. He clings to the hope that his men finished off Wu Fu despite his surprising skills. Ming Yao decides it's safe to assume her ex-boyfriend is already a corpse. Just then, our protagonist appears calmly asking, "Are you looking for me?" Tian's allies wield immense power. In their eyes, Wu Fu is nothing. Tianan is convinced the Shu family must have helped him. He points a finger, blaming the entire family. "Your disciples ambushed and killed Zhongyan's men, but it was Wu Fu alone who did the deed. The Shu family had no part in it." Sujia scoffs, "Such insolence!" But Tianggan refuses to believe it. "Watch your mouth, boy," he snarls. "My family has ruled these seas for generations." It seems someone needs to teach Tianggan a lesson in respect. The Shu family will not stand by as outsiders invade their home and harm the innocent. Wu Fu appreciates their noble gesture, but this is a battle he must fight himself. He punctuates his words by tossing 2 corpses at Tianggan's feet. The act ignites Tianggan's fury. Our hero smirks, "If you want revenge, you'd better be strong enough to take it." Master Sujia's eyes widen as he beholds Wu's powerful blade. The strength of the Shu family is not to be trifled with, and Sujia himself is a half-step master. Yet in mere days, the protagonist has reached the same terrifying level. Tianggan knows when to fold. For now, he'll retreat, but he vows that one day he will personally end Wu Fu. Ming Yao is speechless. What power does her ex possess? That would make the mighty Shu family stand with him. Tianggan plots to ambush Wu Fu the moment he leaves their protection. Meanwhile, Ching Ching's brother circles our protagonist, trying to build a connection. He even asks if Wu Fu needs a girlfriend. The brother can't even begin to sense the depths of Wu's power. He asks when the young man's master will return. The hero simply says he journeyed to the Sea of Clouds. The brother is stunned. He thought Wu was just a simple kid, not someone with such a legendary figure backing him. He decides he must elevate this relationship. Perhaps his grandfather will reward him for befriending such a powerful ally. Grandpa Shu has already heard that Ching Ching and Wu Fu attend the same school. Elsewhere, Wang Mong is deep in a dream when Tianggan and his cronies burst in. They're here to avenge Tianghan's death, and they want Wang Mang's help. After their meeting with the Shu family, our heroes must return to school, as thanks for saving his daughter. Ching Ching's father offers an incredible gift: divine spirit pills. These treasures are invaluable for cultivators in the mystic stage. The father thinks it's too soon for Wu, but the grandfather insists. He won't be told how to thank the boy who saved his only granddaughter. Pills like these are worth a fortune. Ching Ching explains they don't expect him to use it right away. But Wu Fu has his own methods of development. There's no need, he says, declining the treasure. He asks instead for help finding fragments of his sword. The girl is confused. How could a broken sword be more valuable than divine spirit pills? But the sword's aura proves her wrong. Master Su realizes its power is on par with artifacts wielded by mystic stage cultivators. Wu Fu showed no fear when he faced Tianggan. The man asks if the blade is a treasure from his master. It is not of this world, the boy explains cryptically. The grandfather promises to see what he can do. Wu Fu thanks the Shu family and departs. At the bus stop, Zhou Shun runs into 3 bullies from a rival university. They were from the basketball club that crushed Yunhai University's team. Their demand if they win again, Zhou Shun must kneel before them. Zhou Shun tries to bluff, mentioning they have some powerful first years now, glancing at Wu Fu. But the boys just laugh. Yunhai University is nothing to them. Zhou Shun desperately begs Wu Fu to save him from the confrontation. A fist slams into his face. He continues to plead with the protagonist, confused why he won't intervene. The bullies mock all Yunhai students as trash. They claim that during the upcoming Cultivator exchange, Yunhai will be utterly defeated. They arrogantly ask Wu Fu for directions. Their endless insults finally push him over the edge. The time for punishment has come. He calmly asks them to speak politely and avoid violence. It turns out his opponent is the heir of the elder family, a master of the fierce tiger fist. His friends whisper for him to be careful and not to accidentally kill Wu. Our hero states plainly, "We are not rivals. Leave now while you still can." The students can't believe it. Since when did Yunhai University produce anyone with this much nerve? The Tiger Fist user refuses to back down. He vows to punish Wu for daring to act tough in his presence. Just then, the president of the school board arrives on the scene, her eyes wide with shock. She just witnessed Wu Fu defeat the strongest fighter from Shirin College. The students assumed the protagonist was part of the prestigious school board, but he reveals he's just a member of the martial arts club. The student council is always home to a school's strongest fighters. The president had never even heard of a martial arts club. She turns to the Yunhai School Board's president. Her school was officially issuing a challenge, hoping they would accept. Wu Fu is roped into the Cultivator exchange. He's not exactly thrilled, but the president is firm. She reminds him they cleaned up his mess with He Tian. Attending is just a small price for their favor. Now Wu Fu wonders why all the bullies have suddenly disappeared. The president summons him to the student council room, still stunned by his power. She can't believe a first year is this strong. He broke through just days ago, yet he already crushed the Fist of the Tiger from Shirin College, a fighter who had been at that cultivation stage for a very long time. For once, Yunhai University might actually win this. They've never beaten Shirin College in the exchange, not once. Having a stage expert means losing won't be so embarrassing. But a council member immediately objects, disgusted that a mere first year would join the competition. The president snaps back. The exchange members are Yunhai's elite. If they lose again, she won't hesitate to expel them all. She warns Wu Fu the exchange starts at noon, ordering him not to be late. There are opponents far stronger than the Fist of the Tiger waiting for him. They demand to be taken seriously. Another arrogant council member tells Wu Fu not to get cocky and insults him. A fool's words earn him a swift lesson in pain. President Liu is hopeful. This time, Yunhai University's victory seems certain. Wu Fu enters the area and sees a familiar scene. He spots his neighbor being bullied. He instantly knew He Tiangan was behind this. Wang Meng pleads with his friend not to interfere, warning him that his tormentor is incredibly powerful. But Wu Fu makes a solemn promise He Tiangan will personally apologize to him today. The Cultivator exchange is about to begin. The students are buzzing with hope, but they believe it's incredibly risky to pit a first year against their fiercest rivals. President Liu, however, is confident. Their new champion is on another level. One council member reluctantly accepts the decision. But another mocks Wu Fu, suggesting he should defeat all of Shirin College's fighters by himself. This fool decides to challenge Wu Fu, directly trying to stop him from joining the exchange. The main character still isn't eager to fight, but he's being forced into it by the iron-willed student council president. The guy lunges at the newcomer and gets a powerful kick for his trouble. He can't believe it. This rookie is absurdly strong. Suddenly, Ching Ching arrives, surprised the competition hadn't already started. She's a cultivator at the final stage of orb formation. Then a chilling presence descends. He Tiangan appears a cultivator at the mystic level. He's shocked to find Wu Fu here. Wang Meng bravely steps between them, not wanting his friend to fight his battle. The competition is more important right now. But our hero declares that it doesn't matter. Whether Tiangan came here or not, the outcome would be the same. He will win, and so will his friend. Overcome with emotion, Wang Meng leans in for a kiss, only to get decked by Wu Fu's reflexes. Wu Fu wants to avenge his friend, but He Tiangan is blinded by rage. His brother was killed, and he demands Wu Fu pay with his life. The protagonist coldly states that the brother deserved his fate. If Tiangan wants revenge, he's more than ready. It was Wu Fu who ended his brother, not Wang Meng. Tiangan sneers, saying a weakling like Wang Meng isn't worthy of his time. He then reveals a great treasure from the Zhongyan faction, thinking he can intimidate Wu Fu with its power. But the hero recognized this fragment's energy from their very first encounter. The treasure pulses with a wild, uncontrollable aura. It's nearly impossible to control. Suddenly, the fragment rips free from Tiangen's grasp and flies straight into Wu Fu's sword. It was his piece all along. The two are about to clash, but President Liu intervenes, halting the fight. Wu Fu knows he must be patient. He will wait for the perfect moment to claim his revenge. Tiangen is now obsessed with the sword that could consume one of the 3 great treasures of the Zhongyan faction. He must have it. The students from Shiren College are shocked. They never expected Yunhai University to have such powerful fighters. They're especially wary of Tiangan, who reached the Qi realm a year ago. Victory will be much harder this time. As one of them tries to set something in the ground, Wang Mong stops him. President Liu scolds Wu Fu for his recklessness. He just reached the sphere formation stage, yet he's already picking a fight with Tiangen, who has been at that level for some time. Tiangen screams for his treasure back, but Wu Fu simply states he did nothing. The shard returned to its true owner. He claims the shards have belonged to the Yanzhong faction for 3 years, but Tiangan is convinced it's just an excuse. He lunges to attack Wu Fu, only to trip and fall flat on his face. The entire crowd erupts in laughter. Humiliated Tiangan orders Wang Mong to get lost if he values his life. But Wu Fu coldly retorts that Tiangan is the one who should leave. If he can gather all the pieces of the orb, his power will become unimaginable. He feels a sense of duty to reclaim the sword's fragments. President Liu intervenes, demanding they put aside their petty grudges and stop this madness. She insists that Shai College will not become a laughingstock. Internal friction is nothing compared to the honor of the exchange competition. The students are stunned by this internal clash. They mutter amongst themselves, believing Tiangan is hardly a powerhouse. They don't understand who Wu Fu is or where his terrifying strength comes from. To them, he's just a beginner. It feels like the guy hasn't even used his full power yet. In the explosive clash between our hero and Tiangan, the sword is sent flying from Wu's grasp. Tiangan seizes it, sneering that our protagonist is absolutely nothing without his blade. The sword's aura is now in his hands. But seconds later, it dematerializes, reappearing in Wu Fu's hand, of its own free will. The blade's essence has always resided within his body. No one could ever truly take it away. The students from Xie College are in disbelief. One girl scoffs, recalling how Wu was beaten to a pulp by Tiangan and sent to the hospital just 2 months ago over some personal drama. If Tian Hao is Tiangan's brother, then Wu should be nothing more than an ordinary man. Did he become this monstrously strong in 2 months, or has he always been hiding his true strength? Our hero has a secret. Wu unleashes the Star Sword technique. An onlooker gasps, realizing he's just broken through to the sphere formation stage, but no one can comprehend how he so effortlessly crushed a cultivator from the legendary mystic stage. Defeated Tiangan admits his opponent was on a completely different level. He suspects Wu Fu is using a forbidden technique. He vows to never forget this injustice and will exact his revenge. Wang Meng erupts with joy seeing his friend defeat the mighty Tiangan, but another student sneers that Wu relies too much on that strange sword of his. The boy retorts that brutal fights are what these cultivation exchanges are all about. Wu will now fight in the place of Tiangan, who has already fled in disgrace. The rival college still isn't convinced our hero is invincible, since he only just reached the sphere formation stage. They believe that even with that bizarre sword, he stands no chance against their captain. Wu has no time for their chatter and tells them all to attack him at once. The rival team's captain's face darkens, promising to make our protagonist regret those words. He gives him one final chance to apologize. Wu must not think he can win this, just because he has a special sword. President Liu coldly remarks that with Tiangan, they had a 60% chance to win. But now, if Wu dares to lose, she will devour him herself. Qing thinks it's foolish to say such things in front of their enemies. The girl wants to give a proper welcome to a pack of thugs who clearly don't know their place. Someone whispers that Qing is just jealous of President Liu's attention. Qing lunges at an opponent, but as her attack connects, she realizes his defenses are too strong and it's too late to dodge the counter. But Wu Fu is there in a flash, defending the very person he's supposed to fight. Qing shouts for her rescuer to be careful. The boy just laughs, certain no one can penetrate his family's divine protection technique, especially not Wu, with what looks like a toy knife. He dreams of the moment he crushes the protagonist as Wu stands motionless. The student council president has already admitted defeat in his heart, convinced their university is doomed to lose again this year. And then, the divine defense technique is shattered. There is nothing that can block Wu's sword, not in the past, the present, or the future. The students of Xie School know it's over. They have lost. They could concede defeat, but it would mean giving Wu the soul stone. He explains quite seriously that his dog finds them very delicious. Zia runs over to claim her treats. A young man had discovered a treasure's presence within Chanfu Mountain. His master had asked him to find the divine weapons owner and grant him peace. The boy promised he would, but in his heart he believed only he was worthy of such a divine weapon. The master had warned him that his time in this world was like glass. If he never reaches the Tower Realm, he will surely die. Mu Yao doesn't understand how Wu has become so powerful. He tells her cryptically that a certain girl will choose death over life. Tian Gan tells her to be quiet. Wu is easy prey for me, he boasts. His strength is only equal to mine because he's using a divine weapon. He swears he won't leave Wu alone. He will be satisfied only when he watches Wu die before his very eyes. The man has no idea how the pass in for the event works. He demands the guards let him into Wu Fu's private room. He has to show his invitation, but Sia tore that card to shreds. Unfortunately, the guards refuse to accept it. Chiaosun happens to be nearby, sneering that Wu Fu is unworthy of entering such a prestigious place. He doesn't believe for a second that a dog tore up the pass. Wu Fu can only pass with an intact card. Our protagonist asks Chiaosun for help, but he recoils in disgust, not wanting to be touched by him in public. Wu Fu asks him to hand over his card. The girl with Chiaosun scoffs, wondering why he would communicate with trash like Wu. She spots a beautiful necklace and asks Chiaosun to buy it for her. Instead, Chiaosun gives her his pass and tells Wu to accept it. Our hero offers his gratitude. The boy realizes Wu Fu's power has ascended to another level, and now they had arrived for the auction. The fabled sword fragments were finally going up for sale. Qing Qing's father extended a personal invitation, allowing the young man a chance to see if the blade was truly here. The elder asked Wu Fu to leave the rivalry to the Su family, promising they would handle everything. Wu was incredibly grateful for his support. If the item was indeed a sword fragment, the man vowed to teach the Su family some priceless techniques. He suspected Wu Fu had no idea of the lot's true value, quietly advising him to stay silent. Wu Fu had already noticed that the Su family head was stuck at the Yangshang realm. These techniques would be more than enough to help him break through. The man was stunned. How could Wu Fu possibly know about his cultivation bottleneck? Just then, the auction began. Our protagonist watched with keen interest. The first item was a dazzling ghost with a starting price of $500,000. Char lets out a bark, and Mr. Su immediately decides to buy it for her. Qing Qing protests, saying their family has no need for spirits right now. Even if this spirit is rare, it's useless to them. But her father simply declares he'll buy anything the little dog desires. The girl is shocked. Her father has changed so much. Next up is a sparkling Trudevique for $5 million, followed by a fishy for $3 million. Then Apache Lingxi sells for $2 million. The auction is nearing its end. I wonder what the final item will be, someone muses. The man beside him doesn't care. He couldn't afford it anyway. The final lot is always the most legendary. And there it is, a fragment of a divine sword. It's the exact piece Wu Fu has been searching for. Suddenly another man appears, claiming he has hunted this treasure for years. For 9 long years he has searched. Now he demands someone in the crowd buy it for him. Forcing a stranger to pay for you at auction is unthinkable. One of the guests scoffs, thinking he'd never meet someone more arrogant than Wu Fu. The auction goers think the newcomer is out of his mind. But the stranger unleashes an oppressive aura, intent on making someone pay in exchange for a future favor. Incredibly, a man shrouded in ash agrees, offering to purchase the treasure for $10 million. He promises to grant the stranger any wish in the future. This mysterious man believed the stranger's power was worthy of the treasure, and decided to lend his aid. Wu Fu and the Su family felt the overwhelming pressure of his power. Qing Qing's father has no idea who this mysterious expert is. Our protagonist simply says it doesn't matter, because the Su family is no match for him anyway. Wu Fu is certain the mysterious man will hand over the fragment. Mr. Su wonders if Wu Fu knows the powerful stranger. No, he replies, but I know the man he's helping. The mysterious benefactor who helped acquire the divine sword fragment turns out to be none other than He Tangin. He's satisfied with the promise of a future favor. He plans to use this opportunity to finally battle Wu Fu. Later, someone knocks on Tangin's door. It's a friend offering to help him eliminate his enemy. But Tangin is in no rush. He wants to focus on obtaining the sword first, and then savor the moment he tortures Wu Fu. Meng Yao is convinced her ex-boyfriend will die this time. Meanwhile, Xia's new teeth are coming in nicely. The student council president suddenly enters the main character's room. She also comments on how much the puppy has grown. Wu Fu asks her to get straight to the point. The girl admits she approached him only because he always seems so alone. In a flash, Wu Fu pins her against the bed, leaning in close. "Don't play with fire," he whispers in her ear, "unless you're prepared to get burned. This could be dangerous." She shoves him away flustered, explaining that she came to ask him to represent Yunhai University. Wu Fu isn't interested. His approval doesn't matter to her. Their rivals are just too strong. It seems their university is doomed to fail again. This year, there are only 10 contestants in the entire competition. The girl says she can just ask someone else. This competition will be far more difficult than before. Wu Fu agrees to be recorded, but says he has something to do first. The girl covers her blushing face with her hands. Despite this simple task, Wu Fu can't stay in his current state, so he needs to change his cultivation. He must advance to the body strengthening stage. The head of the student council is sure it will be a difficult process. But Wu Fu thinks it seems quite straightforward. President Liu then creates a powerful energy sphere around herself. Wu Fu needs to defend himself now. He focuses all his energy on a single point, trying to break through the barrier. It seems he shattered it. The student council president decides to step outside for some fresh air. It once took her countless resources and so much time to break through that sphere. And for Wu Fu, it seemed to happen by pure chance. Wang Meng is standing right outside the door, trying to figure out what's happening inside. Suddenly, the door flies open and President Liu spots him. The girl storms past without a word. It seems she's going to cultivate. Wang Ming thinks it's cruel to leave little Xia alone for so long. The puppy must be bored. Seeing his owner, the dog barks with joy. Wang Meng turns around and sees his friend completely undressed. He's out of time. It's his birthday today, and he suggests they grab a drink to celebrate. Wu Fu agrees without a second thought. He heads out to find a spot for their celebration. A friend is set to meet him soon. Meanwhile, Ten and Gan has hired an informant to track them. A message arrives. The targets are at the liquor store. It's a birthday party for Wang Mang. Mang Yao suggests they crash the celebration. Arrange the hotel rooms, he commands. This is our perfect chance to eliminate Wu. A young man urges his teacher to take his medicine. He pleads for him to drink it slowly, as a weak cough shakes the old man's body. The master can barely feel his own limbs, but there is hope. A divine warrior who could save him. If the student can find this legend, he will save his teacher. The boy bows deeply to the old man. He departs on his quest, but his eyes hold a suspicious glint. What is he truly hiding? Elsewhere, Wu arrives at the birthday cafe with his pet Xia. The small creature holds an object carefully in its teeth. It seems he's also brought a gift. He brought a present for Wang Ming. Wu takes it in his hands. It looks like a strange yellow pebble. Just then, President Liu joins them. Their party is suddenly interrupted by something outside. A shimmering portal tears open before the window. It leads to a vast desert. They can see endless sand dunes. They can even feel the grit beneath their feet. Then, from out of nowhere, a colossal shadow falls over them. A monstrous serpent erupts from the sands. It towers over them, its massive jaws lunging straight for Wu. We can't escape. It's a magic array, Wang Meng cries in fear. But Xia leaps forward, creating a protective sphere of energy. He transforms into a huge spirit animal and attacks the snake. This sudden transformation leaves the student council, head utterly shocked. The dog manages to defeat the reptile and protect his master. It seems all those spirit stones he loves to feast on have truly paid off. In the same building just a few floors up, Lai Yao watches with his accomplices. Finish him now, he orders. The dog that never leaves Wu's side is a problem. But it doesn't matter because he and his friends are already trapped. They're inside the illusion of their comrade Miss Li. She can easily dispose of the pet. After Xiao's victory, the scene instantly changes. They find themselves by a reservoir with a perfectly set table and chairs. They are still in the room, trapped inside a magical array. It's a spiritual wall. To get out, Wu explains, we have to find something real inside this fake world. There must be a real object here, but they can't see it. Wu slams his fist on the table and it shatters into 1,000 pieces. Back in the real world, Lai Yao's room begins to crack. Pieces of the illusionary table fall from the ceiling, followed by shattering glass. The floor beneath them gives way. They crash through to the floor below. Now Bolu is convinced they really are at the hotel. There, Wu sees his ex-girlfriend standing before him. It seems she orchestrated this entire trap. Mang Yao is certain that this time he will finally die. A man steps forward, his voice dripping with arrogance. You won't be just walking away this time. Wu gives his pet to a friend and tells him to get back. Even if you break the formation, you can't escape, the enemy taunts. But our main character knows the truth. You dare call this miserable magic a formation, you've disgraced yourself. Wu Fu pulls out his sword. He rises into the air, his power shocking his enemy. The strength of Wu's magic is on a completely different level. With just a thought, Wu Fu forces his opponent to his knees. The air grows heavy, crushing him. Even at the peak of the guru level, the man can't even lift a finger. Things are not going according to plan. Suddenly, a powerful voice cuts through the illusion. Have you no shame oppressing the weak? It booms. Wu looks up as a hand tears through the magical barrier. It grabs him and pulls him back into the real world. This newcomer? He's the master's apprentice. Wu recognizes him instantly. In his past life, this was the man who sought to destroy the poison master. The protagonist is going to expose his righteous facade. He will tear that hypocritical mask off in front of everyone. The hooded man offers him a choice. Come with me. President Liu tries to stop his friend, but Wu assures him that everything is fine. I will be back soon.
The stranger then demands that he surrender the strong spirit.
The girl has no idea what he means, but once in a past life, this very man
Killed their master. He hunted Wu for 300 years, all because of the sacred cauldron the old man had given him.
It was a heartless act of betrayal. The student tries to defend himself. Don't blame me for how everything ended. But Wu Fu declares, this will not happen again. They arrive before the master, and the old man realizes this is the very person he was so desperate to meet. The master knows this young man possesses incredible abilities, and that he just needs help. He feels his own death is near, but he still yearns to break through to the next layer. However, stuck in the mortal world,
A breakthrough is almost impossible for him, but perhaps it's not too late. Maybe there is another way out.
his student clearly hates the presence of this outsider. He calls the guy an arrogant bastard. But the teacher silences him with a single look. Wu smells a strong scent of herbs in the room. The master's body is already quite weak, all because of his advanced age. The old man notices his guest can see right through him, as if he knows him. Perhaps Wu Fu is the one, an offer of aid, but with strings attached. To the student, demanding terms from his master was an unforgivable insult. Perhaps their guest noticed the switched herbs. Wu Fu unleashed a unique technique to heal the elder, but the student saw it as an attack. He believed Wu Fu was harming his master, a fatal misunderstanding. Now he vows to eliminate Wu, erasing this future threat. Our main character used an art the master had never seen, restoring half of his meridians in an instant. The young man's talent was truly terrifying. Just then, Wu sensed a familiar energy, a sword shard. He calmly demanded it as payment for his services. The student Liu had no choice but to surrender the shard. As he obeyed, the star sword eagerly absorbed another one of its missing fragments. This was an extraordinary weapon, one that demanded caution. Our hero took the elder's advice to heart. Sometime later, Liu met with an acquaintance named Mingo at a hotel. A mysterious flask was placed on the table between them.
The instructions were simple and chilling: destroy Wu Fu before tomorrow, and crush anyone who dares to interfere. Back at the family home, the sound of splashing water echoes. It's Ching Ching singing softly as she takes a shower. Suddenly, she hears footsteps from the hallway. A chill runs down her spine. She thinks someone is stalking her. It could be.
Wu Fu number 2 Ching Ching grabs a towel just as 3 imposing figures appear at the bathroom door. They made no excuses for their intrusion. Their mission was to kill Wu Fu, and they certainly didn't expect to find a half-naked girl. She warns them to leave, but they refuse. They are looking for Wu, who has not yet returned. One of the men intends to play with Ching Ching until their target arrives. He lunges at the girl, not knowing he just attacked the wrong person. Because Ching Ching is also a powerful cultivator. But where did a young girl get such strength? The men's focus was clouded by her half-naked appearance. She took advantage, killing one with a devastating knee to the face. The assassin never thought another monster like Wu Fu existed, but he still underestimates her. Just then, Wu Fu finally arrives, appearing like a ghost directly behind him.
Paralyzed with fright, the man scrambles into a corner. His target had been in the house the entire time.
After analyzing his opponent, the man concluded Wu was at an average stage of body transformation. He came here today to kill the main character, and he was absolutely certain of his victory. But Ching Ching noticed something strange beneath her friend's feet. A magic array. It silently activated, enveloping Wu's legs. Trapped in the illusion, our protagonist felt his body ensnared. He was wrapped in ethereal chains. It turned out that in his moment of fear, the assassin had already set his magical trap. But it was useless. Wu has the star sword, which shattered the illusionary chains in one single fluid motion. Once again in reality, our main character found himself back in the bathroom with a worried Ching Ching standing right beside him. His opponent had already vaulted out the window, retreating to a safe distance as he paused in thought. It was news to him that Wu Fu could summon a sword. Hearing this, Wu decided to fight without it. Overjoyed, his opponent believed he could now easily defeat Wu and rushed in to attack. But despite the lack of a sword, our hero possessed masterful martial techniques. He deftly dodged every single blow, which only enraged his enemy further. He then noticed a black substance creeping under his feet. Another one of his opponent's tricks. The liquid began to suck him in. The enemy rejoiced, certain that this time there was no escape, but his expectations were shattered. Wu stopped the man with a single powerful punch. Tossing aside his cloak, he invited the opponent to finish their duel. The guy was stunned by his raw power. He had never faced anyone like him before, but he wouldn't live long enough to learn who Wu is. Our hero used a secret technique and destroyed the enemy with one overwhelming blow. Ching Ching noticed that her friend had become even stronger. Only dust remained of his opponent. Wu then asks the girl to deal with the other bodies. She agrees to fulfill his request. After all, if the corpses were found in his house? Suddenly, Ching Ching's towel came undone. In total shock, she scrambled to cover herself up. The girl was terrified that Wu had seen her naked, but he calmly assures her that he didn't look. Meanwhile, Liu is watching them from the roof of the house.
If the girl sees him spying,
she promises to castrate him. She slammed her door shut as Wu entered his own room, leaving Liu on the roof.
Still embarrassed, Ching changed and went out to see the guy. Just then, Xiaoxia created a massive energy sphere around itself. Seeing the girl, it glowed with joy.
She never expected this. It looks like the dog is about to break through. The sphere will burst soon. He ate so many spiritual stones. Ching would have never believed a dog could actually cultivate.
Xiaoxia released its long claws and began tearing up the floorboards.
The house is going to be destroyed. The girl is sure of it. Like owner, like dog. Just then, 2 guards entered carrying the corpse of a man. They intended to give it to
the head of the family.
But Wu Fu assures them that it's not necessary because he already knows who is behind this entire plot. Startled, they glanced up. The girl rushed into the yard, her eyes fixed on the rooftop where the man
had vanished without a trace. How long had he been watching Xiao was certain of it. That man had been stalking them this entire time.
Wu ordered the bodyguards to carry the deceased and follow him. Their destination, Tangon's family home. A guard insisted that Ching consult the family head first, but she dismissed the thought. There was no need. With Wu by her side, who would dare touch her? The car sped towards their enemy's territory as a guard made a quick call.
"Warn the master," he urged his colleague. "Wu and Miss Chu are heading for Tiangong." At the estate entrance, a guard asked about
the purpose of their visit. He didn't seem to recognize the infamous Wu Fu. The family driver was at a loss for words.
First, Xia bolted from the car, followed closely by his master. In that instant, recognition finally dawned on Tiangong's guards.
They realized exactly who stood before them. "Seize our guest," the man ordered. Ching's bodyguard moved to intervene, but she calmly stopped him. "It's not necessary," she said. "Better to stay inside and just watch." Jia transformed into a furry blur of fury, pouncing on a huge guard. A messenger frantically informed Tiangong that Wu Fu had come, leaving him completely baffled. What could have happened? He hadn't touched anyone. Li Mengyao was terrified. That very morning, he had hired dozens of bodyguards. Their mission was simple: occupy Wu and drain his spiritual power. Then Tiangong would not miss his chance to get rid of his brother's killer. His men pleaded for protection, utterly beaten by a small dog. But he had no intention of wasting his own spiritual power. He kicked a bodyguard away with disgust, calling him rubbish. Chen Gamut finally faced Wu. He feigned ignorance, demanding to know why Wu had come to his home. In response, the Wu family bodyguards brought forth the body of a young man and placed it at his feet. Li Mengyao recognized him instantly. "That's Zhao Tunan." Tiangong swore it was a misunderstanding, claiming this wasn't his man. But Wu Fu saw the truth. He knew the man had used
Zhao Tunan to lure someone out, namely him. Far away, a blue beam of light erupted from a mountain, piercing the sky.
Deep within a cave of crystal clear water, a naked girl materialized. Elsewhere, Tiangong and Li Mengyao watched the departing car. Next time, he seethed, "Make sure Wu dies." The girl worried her ex could even kill Tiangong, but with the innate power of the Shangqinai, he was on a different level. Suddenly, they felt it. Someone was watching them from the trees. Tiangong sensed it. A figure descended before them. It was Liu. The landlord greeted him, only to learn his guest had come because of Wu Fu, who had helped his own master. Tiangong was stunned. He thought Liu had come to reconcile them, to make peace between him and Wu Fu. He immediately prepared to refuse, but Liu demonstrated his power. He thrust his sword into the ground,
and a deep crack scarred the earth. The bodyguards instinctively rushed to protect their master. The sword was forged from black iron.
Tiangong stepped closer, his eyes wide. Such a weapon could defeat a cultivator 2 stages higher. It was hard to believe, but Liu was offering it to him, asking him to avenge Tian's death. Now the man was certain. With a sword like this, he could finally kill Wu. Soon the preliminary match between campuses would begin, but our main character had one last thing to take care of. He asked Ching to take Xiao with him for a while. Wu was disturbed by the flashes of light on the side of the mountain. That was visible from the school. He ventured into the forest and immediately noticed the aura around him. It had grown suddenly dense. Deep within the thicket, Wu discovered a hidden blue lake. This was exactly what he was looking for. Behind him, he heard approaching footsteps, and then the whistle of a sword cutting the air. He barely managed to dodge. But who was attacking him? Wu evaded several more strikes, then concentrated his strength and blocked the blow. A shockwave from the impact threw them in opposite directions. The attack had stopped. As his feet touched the ground, the boy stood firm. When the smoke cleared, Wu saw a dark-haired girl floating before him, levitating in the air. In her hand was a gleaming sword. It seemed the stranger never expected to meet someone capable of repelling her assault. He assured her it was a misunderstanding. But despite his talent and fighting skills, which resembled a master fencer's, the girl planned to gouge out his eye. Wu Fu narrowly dodged the blade of her sword. The stranger talked a lot. For someone in a fight. She refused to believe this was a simple misunderstanding. And then a memory flashed through her mind. As she departed, Wu Fu reminded her one last time, "You saw nothing." The girl decided it would be best if he never crossed her path again. Meanwhile, Xia yawned sleepily on a bench. The team was assembled, but Wu Fu hadn't arrived yet. Considering he often fought with senior students, they figured he had completely forgotten about the championship. As a guy was speaking ill of him, the main character kicked the door open. He looked at the clock. Exactly 1,500 hours. He wasn't late. The college competitions officially began with 8 representatives. Model. With only 2 spots open for rookie cadets from each academy, they must seize their chance and
Fight for the honor of their college. Wu Fu was the first to step into the ring, issuing an open challenge.
But no one dared to answer. Whispers of the main character's legendary madness had already spread.
Then a challenger erupted from the crowd. This was Wu Fu's first opponent, a fellow freshman named Fan Kong.
He was another rookie who had broken through to the highest layer, a true prodigy in his own right. Fan Kong had heard much about Wu Fu and was eager to face him. The main character simply smiled back,
beckoning his opponent closer with a single finger. Fan Kong exploded in a vortex of purple light,
launching a concentrated attack. But as he shot towards Wu Fu, the main character noticed something else. A sinister cloud of some unknown substance flew from his hands. The audience thought it was a perfect hit, but Fan Kong stared in disbelief. His dirty trick had failed. Now it was Wu Fu's turn to strike. His opponent tried to flee, but Wu Fu instantly pinned him by stomping on his foot. With a secret technique,
he utterly humiliated Fan Kong in a single moment. The main character let him go, but with a chilling warning.
If he ever used poison again in the competition, Wu Fu would end him. With a torn shirt and soaked
pants, Fan Kong collapsed in the corner of the ring. With one challenger down, Wu Fu awaited the next.
The coach gritted his teeth, forced to admit Wu Fu had a spot. Suddenly, the hall doors burst open. A figure no one expected to see had arrived to watch the freshmen fight. This man, along with the president, would represent the third years. His name was Huang Fang. He hadn't been seen at training for 6 months. He must have grown immensely powerful. As he neared the ring, his gaze locked with Wu Fu's. But Huang didn't come alone. One of his friends holding a baseball bat wanted to teach the rookie some manners. The coach fumed at his students' arrogance. The entire group swarmed Wu Fu, led by the thug with the bat, who immediately earned a fist to the jaw. Huang appeared behind the main character, believing in his superior
speed against a mere rookie. But in an instant, the boy vanished. The Hu family's power grew with each generation.
Its reputation was well-deserved. The third year thought the rookie had skill, but a fatal lack of reaction time. He circled Wu Fu, boasting he could have killed him 10 times over. This only made the main character laugh. As Huang prepared to attack again, he realized his target was gone. He was confused. Where did Wu Fu go? He was standing right behind him. The coach gasped. The first year was even faster than Huang. The third year tried to escape, but it was far too late. His panicked movements kicked up a cloud of dust around Wu Fu. This was hardly a problem. The guy just smirked. Since Huang was here, he wouldn't be leaving so easily. Wu Fu unleashed a fire technique, and his opponent's hands began to smoke from the searing heat. The boy was stunned by the freshman's power. This kid, he was in the transformation realm. Wu Fu threw Huang from the ring, sending him crashing into a wall as blood trickled from his mouth. It was true. His cultivation level might just surpass everyone present. In the student council office, President Liu announced the final roster of contestants. Huang from the third year, Haiyan and Shuing from the second, and Wu Fu and Funsen from the first. A girl warned the newcomer to be careful. He'd made enemies of Huang and Haiyan, but the main character was certain they were no match for him. Bo Lu had heard the third year was about to break, through to the mystic realm. But Wu Fu possessed the Star Sword. He feared no one. Still, caution was necessary. Liu An urged the master to take the elixir he'd prepared. After days of training, the man's body had healed, and his strength was returning to its peak. The student knew this miracle was all thanks to the power of his teacher. The master then asked Li Zong to find Wu Fu, wanting to thank him for his help. Meanwhile, a pungent metallic smell filled Huang's apartment. He was submerged in a bathtub filled to the brim with a crimson liquid. Suddenly, his cronies burst in. Huang was enraged. He had been on the verge of the mystic realm. He was obsessed with what Wu Fu was doing to become so strong. Later at the team meeting, President Liu asked if anyone had objections to the contestant list. Haiyan, Funsen, Huang, and Wu Fu remained silent. There were no objections. But then the cabinet door swung wide open. The team stared at their teacher, and a young man named Zhao Yao, a fourth-year student. He would be taking full charge of this competition. He whispered that Zhao Yao's true goal was to block him from joining the competition. As the prized heir of the Xia family and the college's star graduate, his record was impeccable. With Zhao Yao involved, he could easily steal a spot. The teacher placed him in charge, but the prodigy was not pleased. An internship and this sudden task were merely a distraction. Yao Yao picked up the list, his eyes locking onto a single name, Wu Fu, a mere freshman in the early stages of the Tongan realm. Others had cleared the mystical realm trial. So how did this nobody earn his place?
Fan Kong recounted the tale of how Wu defeated him using a powerful spiritual weapon. He was sure that if it were
taken away, the freshman would be utterly helpless. Hearing this, Xiao Yao decided to erase his name from the list. Tiangan grew curious about Wu Fu's connections, realizing Xiao Yao was trying to sabotage him. President Liu again drew everyone's attention to the fourth-year student's attempt to eliminate Wu. But Wu was completely unfazed. He looked at the girl with eyes that held not a single flicker of interest. It seemed she failed to notice his utter indifference. Tiangan rose from his chair, deciding to defend the freshman. Wu Fu's abilities are not to be underestimated. Even I would not consider myself his opponent. A wave of shock filled the room, since they all knew Tian held a personal grudge against Wu Fu. So why was he helping him now? Silence fell. Our protagonist and the student council president locked eyes in a tense challenge. I have no interest in hearing about his abilities, Xiao Yao stated. I'd rather test them myself. President Liu shouted a warning, but a devastating strike already shot towards our hero. But it couldn't harm the boy. A furious aura erupted, and 6 star swords materialized above the fourth year's head.
Since Xiao Yao was in the Xuan realm, Wu Fu would now show him what true power looked like. Everyone in the conference realized.
The boy was about to force a breakthrough. Don't be a lunatic, Miss Liu cried out. You must follow the proper stages of cultivation. A freshman was far too young for such a reckless move. The others began to claim that the star sword technique wasn't even his own power. They had just asked for trouble. The situation was heating up when a massive explosion rocked the conference room. The glass windows shattered into a million
tiny pieces. As the dust settled, they realized the breakthrough had caused the blast. Wu now stood in the realm of Tongan. Was he
qualified enough now? Xiao Yao was left speechless with no grounds left to object. The boy had broken through to the Tongan realm before his very eyes. Wu Fu seized his chance, said goodbye, and promised to see them at the finish line. As he walked out, he heard a soft laugh. He was being praised for breaking into the
Tongan realm at such a young age. A promising future indeed. The voice belonged to Liu, a master who had broken through
to the final stage of yawning. The Xuan realm was nothing to her. Behind that closed door, they began discussing a plot to get rid of Wu. Xiao Yao couldn't resist the power of the Tonu orb, while Zhou Xuan found it hard to believe his rival had just reached the intermediate level. But Xiao Yao insisted that the breakthrough had happened right there in the room. Besides Master Liu, no one knew his cultivation level. How was Wu aware of this information? Who was he really? It didn't matter. Liu was going to attack him anyway. A blade swung straight for Wu's neck, but he dodged it effortlessly. He wasn't about to give away his secrets. His spiritual weapon began to transform. Liu's eyes narrowed, suspecting his opponent might have forged his own sword. In that case, it was better to let him live a while longer. The attack stopped. Confused Wu asked what was wrong. Liu simply told him to forget about purifying the elixir. In a past life, this master was killed by Li Ju with a poisoned elixir. It appeared that Ling Song was still trying to perfect his alchemy. If you dare deceive me, he threatened, I will kill you. Wu noticed that his
opponent wasn't truly trying to kill him. It seemed he needed to accelerate his own development. Far away in the mountains,
a master practiced his techniques using a special cultivation furnace. He was interrupted by Li Ju, who announced Wu's arrival. In that instant, the furnace containing the miracle elixir exploded, suffocating the space. The master coughed, but he was
all right. His student feared for his health. Ling Song was bewildered. What had he done wrong? In his hands was an extinguished, supreme magical elixir. The man had failed again. Judging by his previous life, this should have happened 6 months later.
It would be better if Wu could just refine the pill himself. It was boring to watch the previous life repeat itself. The master asked the main character to come closer. Last time the boy had given him a powerful method. The old man didn't know how to repay him, but he had many elixir tablets remaining. He asked. The master offered his finest creations perfected through years of dedication. Wu was free to choose any pill in any amount, but Wu simply took a red elixir and casually tossed it over his shoulder. The master and his disciple were utterly stunned. Li Ju immediately erupted with threats, but his master Ling Song held him back. Why would Wu do such a thing? If he disliked the pill, he could have picked another. But if the protagonist was right, this red elixir was known as a kick-away pill. The master realized the boy could sense an elixir's energy using the earth's own aura. A tremendous rare talent. But Wu remained a complete mystery. The kick-away pill should enhance vitality, yet the one in the master's collection did the opposite. The alchemist's eyes filled with contempt, but his disciple refused to believe it.
Ling Song had practiced alchemy for over 200 years, and now some stranger throws away his creation. And dares to call it poison, the disciple demanded proof. If Wu failed to explain himself, Li Ju would ensure he never left this room alive.
Why not try it yourself? Wu suggested. At his master's insistence, Li Ju reluctantly swallowed the pill. The room held its breath. Suddenly, the student drew his blade, lunging at their guest in a flash of steel.
But a crippling pain seized him mid-strike. It was exactly as the protagonist had predicted. Li Ju clutched his stomach
and began crying out to his master for help. The old alchemist could hardly believe his eyes. His disciple begged for forgiveness, but the master couldn't understand why. Wu, however, was certain about the elixir's flaw. The problem wasn't the master's technique. The cause was the poisonous aura emanating from his own body.
Ling Song froze. It seemed their young guest understood the profound arts of alchemy. Wu's knowledge was terrifyingly deep.
Master, don't listen to his nonsense, Li Ju pleaded, convinced the young man was plotting something sinister. But the old man silenced him with a single command. Li Ju meekly obeyed, seething with anger.
Scolded by his master because of an outsider, Li Ju stormed into another room, slamming the door with all his might.
Wu returned to the matter at hand. He picked up a used pill. Its texture was incredible, but he could sense something vital was missing. In that instant, it was as if lightning struck the master's mind. The boy had amazed him again. No wonder his experiments had failed to progress. Now he finally saw the solution to a puzzle that had plagued him for years. It was as if fate had brought Wu here to perfect these pills. Li Ju watched in shock. How could this youth know their secrets? It couldn't possibly be a mere coincidence.
Later, the main character arrived at the student dorms, making his way down the long corridors. But as he reached his room, he found the door ajar and the inside completely ransacked. Wu feared for his friend. Papers were scattered everywhere. He stood frozen in the doorway, a sense of dread washing over him as he reached for the switch.
He flicked on the light. There, huddled in the corner, was Wang Meng, with Xiao Ha sitting right beside him. Wu breathed a heavy sigh of relief. They were safe. In his joy, Wang Meng grabbed his friend's leg, proclaiming that if he'd been any later, he would have found a dead body. The main character tried to calm his panicked friend. He was here now, so there was nothing to fear. As compensation, Wu presented a mysterious flask. Wang Meng had no idea what this elixir could do. Perhaps it held immense power. He uncorked the vial, releasing a torrent of pure energy. Instantly, lightning tore through the sky.
From afar, Li Ju saw the celestial phenomenon.
A breakthrough, he prayed it wasn't that hated Tan family. Wu Fu's methods of cultivation were truly one of a kind. He was now just half a step from reaching the next realm. At the Shu family estate, esteemed guests were arriving. Wu Fu was running late as usual, and Qing Qing's patience was wearing thin. But her father had given a strict order: no one was to enter until the young man arrived. The head of the Shu family had been studying the half-step technique gifted by the protagonist. The entire banquet was forced to wait for one person.
The guests whispered amongst themselves. This person must be an incredibly powerful figure. Some suspected the Shu family and this Wu were plotting something big. A shadowy figure gave his men an order: ruin the party and keep a close eye on Shu Qingqing.
At that moment, the grand doors swung open. Wu Fu had finally entered the hall. "You're late," Qing Qing scolded. "Everyone has been waiting for you." The guests were stunned. The great master was waiting for this child. Some sneered, thinking the boy must have simply gotten lost. The girls grumbled about his tardiness. Wu was surprised. All this for a simple set of sublime energy techniques? The crowd couldn't believe it. Why would the mighty Shu family show such profound respect for a mere boy? With a blade drawn, he lunged straight for Wu. But before the fool could even react, the old patriarch witnessed this blatant disrespect and instantly ended the assassin. A single clean shot right between the eyes. As the body crumpled to the floor, the guests stared in shock. They were completely stunned by what just happened. This was the terrifying power of a half-step master, the head of the Shu family himself, descended before the anxious crowd. He ordered the intruders to be thrown from the estate at once. They were shocked by his commanding presence. Clearing his throat, the old man made a grand declaration. From this day forward, the Shu family would hold Wu as their highest example. Seething with indignation, the three guests defiantly turned to leave. But in the eyes of the family head Shu Kong-an, he was just a pathetic half-step master, foolishly fawning over some ordinary boy. Shu Yingxiang quickly stopped his father
from exploding at the guests' insulting remarks. A man had recently broken through, becoming the very first half-step master in their city. And Wu's methods, they weren't of this world. His power must have a different
source. Finally, the man drew a line in the sand. From now on, the Shu family was their sworn enemy. It would have been better if they'd kept silent, but our main character just smiled mysteriously. In that case, his newfound enemies should definitely stay for the rest of the banquet. With a roar, Shu Kong-an pounced on them. He grabbed the brothers' heads in an iron grip and squeezed,
until their skulls cracked, spilling blood onto the floor. From now on, the Shu family would have nothing to do
with the He family. The rest of the guests were completely bewildered. They felt like they had missed
something critically important. A member of the He family pleaded, "Don't forget my son is a disciple of the great Zhangyang sect."
But Shu Kong-an still sent a crushing blow toward his head. The man was terrified, but Wu saved him, leaving Shu Yingyang and Shu Kong-an, and Qingqing utterly speechless. The main character quickly explained himself. He understood the old man's kindness and his desire to protect him. But in this situation, if anyone was going to kill this man, it had to be Wu.
"Mister?" He couldn't believe what was happening, but the star sword was already piercing his chest. Meanwhile, in a courtyard near the dormitory, a group of students were tormenting a chubby boy named Wang Meng. He hadn't taken his pills and accidentally dropped the vial. Some guy had called ordering them to bully the kid. But President Luo came to his aid. She saw
the scattered pills and picked one up. In her hands was an elixir of supreme power. Where did Wang Meng get these pills? This was a priceless medicine, with each pill worth millions. And this boy had a full bottle of the elixir. It seemed she had completely misjudged her friend. At the He family home, a son mourned his dead father. Li Yao clutched her head
and suggested they apologize to Wu.
But He Angan slammed his fist down and laughed maniacally. The young woman insisted they were no match for him. If they continued down this path, they would be the first to die. First Wu's brother, and then his father. He Angan refused to apologize. He strode toward Li Yao, grabbed her face in his hands,
and stared piercingly into her eyes. She was his former enemy. Perhaps he missed his ex-girlfriend.
Li Yao couldn't fully grasp what He Angan truly wanted. He didn't just dream of his enemy's death. He wanted Wu to suffer.
For 1,000 years. The girl trembled at his dark words. In the hostel, Wang Meng examined his cultivator pills. It was truly precious.
Medicine for the early stages of cultivation, but the boy was just wasting it. Suddenly, the student council leader's phone rang. She was conducting her own investigation. Her accomplice hadn't found anything suspicious. But there was one place that should never be underestimated. At the Shu family estate, the showdown continued. The guests believed that the family head couldn't control them just because he became a half-step master. One man invited Shu Kong-an to stop and forget everything that had happened. The old man agreed. And then it all became clear. The He family
wielded immense power in the city. If it weren't for Wu's help, Grandpa Qingqing would have been a hopeless
half-step master forever. Our hero recalled his own inability to break through the Tongxuan realm. Shu Kong-an noticed that he had a truly keen sense for people. He could see Wu's powerful aura. Just then, He Angan arrived at the Shu family's home again. The boy's hatred
for Wu was far from over, and he did not come alone. His family possessed a truly legendary level of stupidity. The Shu family members
looked at each other. At their gates stood the Tang family and the Zhangyang sect. Shu Kong-an ordered them to stop, outraged that a hidden sect would dare appear at his family's gate. Why were they here? And there was another person, sitting in a car, their face hidden from view. This was the one acting so arrogantly. An incredible energy radiated from the car, an energy that the Shu family members and Wu could not ignore. Qingqing assumed that Master Jiang was behind the tinted windows.
He was here to see who destroyed his family. The man congratulated Konggan on his success.
Shu Yingzhang was certain. This was the patriarch of the Zhangyang sect. He worried that Wu might not. Don't fall for their taunts. The Grandmaster is invincible, but you must approach Heishingan carefully. Wu Fuge declared that destroying the Zhangyang sect would be effortless. Their champion wasn't strong enough to even challenge him. Fury ignited within Hiangun, who lunged forward only to be stopped by his master. The window rolled down just enough for a chilling warning. It's best you leave this place. And with that, their car sped away, the Shu family watching them go. A thin stream of blood trickled from Wu's mouth. Qingqing's heart clenched with worry, sensing something was deeply wrong. Analyzing the situation, the opponent smirked. Things were just starting to get interesting. Su Kongyan realized the Grandmaster's power could still suppress Wu's aura. They needed to retreat and regroup. It's clear the protagonist is no match for the Master yet. He shouldn't act like he's on their level. There's no need to be so arrogant, the man scoffed. Back in the Shu family's courtyard, Wu Fu took Qingqing's wrist. The girl flinched, a faint blush on her cheeks. He explained that when a cultivator hits their limit, they must shatter it. And for that, he needed to ask her for a favor. Qingqing was completely caught off guard by his request. Wu Fu asked for her help to find the remaining sword fragments. She struggled to contain her annoyance at his sheer audacity. Just then, Wu Fu began cultivating. Xu Yingshang realized he was on the verge of a breakthrough. A vortex of raw energy ripped through the heavens above their home, visible across the entire city, as it slowly forged a sword of pure power.
This celestial event did not go unnoticed by the Zongyang sect. Hyanggan frantically reported the phenomenon to his master.
A magic sword formed in mere moments. Their rivals must have used a treasure of heaven and earth to achieve this. The order was given dispatch the entire sect to seize those magic sword fragments. At the same time, Su Konglan gave a similar command. His men were to help Wu collect the fragments, no matter the cost. They were baffled as to why they had to risk so much for the boy. His power was only from the mystic realm after all. But the patriarch was certain. There were only two possible outcomes.
Either Wu would ascend and carry them to a new era of glory, or he would bring about the utter ruin of their family.
Xu Yingshang couldn't believe their entire future now rested on a single gamble. But his father was 90% sure of victory. Wu held the half-sword, pouring all his energy into it. A blinding flash of light erupted, swallowing everything around him. The sheer force of it ripped stones from the ground. Wooden structures nearby were instantly incinerated, leaving nothing but smoke. Had he truly reached the middle level of the mystic realm before he was a nobody? But now, he could even surpass Qing Qing. The thought filled her with a fiery rage. She declared she was leaving to train, ignoring her father's pleas. She would not allow that arrogant boy to look down on her again. Wu Fu knew he couldn't let the Shu family's efforts go to waste. He reached into his robe and pulled out 2 small flasks. As a token of his gratitude, Wu Fu presented the elixirs to Konglan. Even as a half-step master, cultivation is key. The patriarch's eyes widened in shock. These were legendary pills almost impossible to find. And this young man had just handed him 2 full flasks. In this age, true physical power is what separates the old masters. Once Kongan breaks through, he will become a new grandmaster. The patriarch was lost in thought.
He thanked Wu Fu for the incredible gift. In return, Wu promised another powerful martial art technique if they could find the shards.
The family heads swore they would devote all their resources to the task. Xu Yingsheng saw the calculating look in his father's eyes. He wondered if his father's bold assumption was correct. Aligning with the He family would be their first major step.
But his son believed winning Qing Qing's heart was the true first step. Kongan felt the gap was simply too vast to comprehend. Meanwhile, Hyanggang seethed with pure, unadulterated rage.
He would avenge his brother and father by destroying Wu's closest friends. Tomorrow morning, their paths would cross again. He gave the order to a team of assassins who vanished into the shadows. Liang Yao voiced her doubts about their chances. They were only at the qi purification stage. But Hyanggan sneered, calling Wang Mang a useless piece of trash. 3 assassins will be more than enough for him, he declared. Just remember your own mission. He slammed the assassination plan onto the table. The game was now in motion. Back at the student council office, President Liu handed Wu a familiar diagram. This time she warned his opponent was on another level. He had to be extremely careful. Yu replied he wouldn't even be in this competition if the enemy was too powerful. The girl added that the battle would last only 3 days. Suddenly, the Kendo school's teacher appeared, insisting she would personally teach Wu the way of the sword. Kendo, a modern martial art, born from the ancient and deadly sword techniques of the samurai model. Kenjutsu. The girl presents a photo revealing the teacher's face. It's the very same woman he encountered by the forest lake. He asks President Liu if she truly intends to be his mentor. The girl simply says the president knows far more than he can imagine. Just then, the student council office doors slid open, revealing the very same teacher from the photograph. Wu Fu stared in disbelief. The teacher Lo She beckoned for him to follow her words like ice she would not teach him. Instead, Wu would hone his own swordsmanship. President Liu was baffled by his statement. After all, she had studied the Tonin style for years. Her strength was beyond anything the main character could possibly imagine. They journeyed deep into the forest to begin their training. As they walked, President Liu's friend whispered to her, urging her to leave the past behind and surrender to Wu Fu's guidance, for he was their teacher now. But the woman's sharp ears caught every word. Rage flared within her. How dare they assume she would lose President Liu, sensing the dangerous shift in mood, quickly made her excuses and left. Her friend was left to practice alone. Now Wu Fu and Lucy stood facing each other in a wide clearing. He had never dared to boast before his master. She drew her blade, and in a flash, the air filled with countless blue and pink butterflies. They enveloped Lucy, a beautiful but deadly swarm. Yet Wu Fu was unfazed. He simply mirrored her technique, a confident grin on his face. The head of the student council had never seen such overwhelming power. When it came to the art of the sword, Wu Fu would always claim first place, and no one would dare challenge him. Lo She couldn't believe what she was hearing as she felt the immense aura of his blade. The sword's presence was overwhelming. No wonder he was unharmed. He'd simply touched the butterflies and dispelled them. To think the dual swordsmanship aggregate could manifest in such a form? No wonder her own progress in the Tonin realm had stalled for years. How did he know all of this? He then revealed a devastating truth. Her technique was riddled with flaws. 2 of them, he said, were fatal. It was then that Lo Su's confidence began to shatter. Wu Fu's proposed a deal. If she helped him adjust the tournament roster, he would reveal every one of her shortcomings. Lo Su assumed he wanted to arrange for easier opponents, but his request was the exact opposite. He demanded she pit all the strong fighters against him. Though he'd just broken into the mysterious realm, he'd never had a chance to test his true strength. The teacher, intrigued by his boldness, agreed. Wu Fu then told Lo She to follow him deeper into the forest's shadows. Suddenly, a hostile scream erupted from nearby trash cans. A man in a robe was hiding there, his victim completely different from the customer's description. As the victim struggled, Wang Mo crept up from behind, empowered by the pills that Wu Fu had given him. The assassin begged for forgiveness, knowing he was a dead man the moment he came to kill the fat man. Just then, Xiao attacked the robber. Meanwhile, Wu Fu, along with the teacher and the student council president, reached Lucy's house, a magnificent home nestled inside a giant tree. The young man asked Miss O to wait outside. Her residence was far grander than he expected, with a pure and powerful qi flowing through it. Lo She impatiently demanded he explain the flaws in her swordsmanship. His suggestion was simple and utterly shocking. Take off your clothes and come closer. The teacher's killing intent flared. Did Wu Fu wish to die at her hands? A mysterious energy began to envelop him. It was the Shu swordsmanship, the secret legacy of her family. How could this mere boy know of it? It seemed there was nothing that he didn't know. He repeated his instruction she needed to undress and lie down. Reluctantly, she decided she would trust him. For now. As Lucy carefully slid the dress from her shoulders, she was shocked to see Wu Fu was also undressing. She had assumed he would simply transfer his energy, not stand naked before her. But he explained this was necessary for a true energy exchange. Flustered Loi urged him to begin. They stood opposite each other as their energy meridians lit up, surrounding their bodies in a brilliant aura. The teacher closed her eyes in embarrassment, but felt a new power surging within a modified set of Shu sword skills. The question burned in her mind: who is Wu Fu? The young man then confirmed the recovery process was complete. Loi reached for a large white cloth to cover her body, but in that unguarded moment, the teacher snatched her sword and held its cold steel to Wu Fu's throat. There was something she couldn't accept. The Shu-style swordsmanship was a secret legacy of her family, never to be passed on to outsiders. How had her student learned of it? But Wu Fu not only knew her family's secret art, he also knew her grandfather would be returning soon. Loi was momentarily stunned, speechless. He leaned closer and whispered that this world could hide nothing from him, including her. With that, he left, leaving a gift for the girl. The upcoming competition was drawing in many talented people. Powerful first-year students were joining the championship. At the He family home, Tiangan met with his brother over a meal to discuss an urgent matter. He asked his brother to kill Wu Fu, handing him a sword as a gift for self-defense. His brother told him not to worry, for no one was worthy to be his opponent. Shan Kui was born with divine strength. Even intermediate-level students were no match for him. Tiangan was certain that thanks to his brother, Wu Fu's life was forfeit. In the roaring arena, the time for battle has arrived. With the deafening sound of a gong, the master announces the start of the third college competition. The hall thrummed with the energy of countless spectators, among them members of the powerful Shu family, Shu Ying. Sang himself had just made his entrance. His daughter, however, had been waiting anxiously in the hall for quite some time. She never expected to see her own father here. A man had also come to protect Wu, but couldn't find him anywhere. The boy had yet to arrive. Still, there was no questioning his ability. His strength was undeniable. But Yingsheng was deeply worried because the main judge for this tournament was Master Hinjie. Worse, Jiang Yang had dispatched his own elders, and among them was the infamous Han Po, a half-step master for many years. If Han Po willed it, Wu's life would be forfeit. The Shu family's presence was immediately noted by the head of the student council. In her eyes, they were here for one reason: to protect that boy. And behind them, she also spotted Conlin. Just then, Wu arrived with Chia. He was greeted by Qing Qing and her father, but suddenly a figure stepped out from around the corner, spoiling for a confrontation. It was Heng Gan and Shan Kui. Our main character immediately began taunting them. The rivals stared each other down with killing intent. Shan Kui vowed to rip Wu's head from his shoulders during their battle. After the chilling threats, the boys departed. The tournament matchups flashed onto the screen. Today would feature 3 brutal confrontations, and Wu was set to fight in every single one. His first opponent, Shan Kui, his second, Hang Tian, and his third, Heen. The audience absolutely erupted. Tianganan witnessed this sneering at his enemy's sheer arrogance. He suspected it was the head of the student council who had manipulated the battle list. Wu Fu could very well be eliminated in the very first round. The referee struck the gong. The protagonist's first opponent appeared in the ring, and the audience gasped. They were shocked by his overwhelming power. In his hands, he wielded 2 massive battle axes, his cultivation having already reached the fearsome Yansheng realm. An argument sparked between a girl with glasses and a red-haired boy. She had dared to question the strength of Yunhai. College a grave mistake. Qing worried frantically. Wu Fu's opponent was far too powerful if he felt like he couldn't win. He should just jump from the ring to avoid humiliation. But our main character had never known defeat. Viewers began to suspect that there must be some mistake. Had Yunhai College truly sent a boy who had just broken through the mysterious realm to fight a powerhouse of the Yanang realm? This was nothing short of suicide. It was unthinkable that a cultivator from the kingdom of Tunan could compete with such overwhelming force. The audience was certain Wu would be crushed. President Lu Si and Qing held their breath in terror. Tiangan, meanwhile, smirked, anticipating sweet revenge. And so the battle began. The opponents were about to lunge at each other. Meanwhile, a student hostile towards our hero, his ex-girlfriend, had snuck into the main character's room. If Wu died in the ring, she would utterly destroy his reputation, making everyone despise his very name. The girl crept over to his bed. Just then, Teacher Alice arrived. By order of the school board, he knew there were people in the college who were plotting to kill Wu. His nephew tried to dissuade him, urging him not to get involved in this mess. As they headed towards the protagonist's dorm, a woman's shriek echoed through the corridor. A crowd of men burst into the room. There, they discovered Li Emyao completely naked in the student's bed. She immediately claimed that the boy had drugged her. Zhou Suan pleaded with his uncle to investigate what was happening. His friends were utterly appalled that Wu Fu would dare do such a thing in broad daylight. It was disgusting that a student would drug his own ex-girlfriend. Tears streamed down Meng Yao's eyes. Alas, however, asked calmly if she was certain she was telling the truth. The girl insisted that Qian Meo had arranged everything, claiming it had happened last night. In response, Li Manga received a sharp slap from the
teacher. A bright red handprint appeared on her cheek. Zhou Shan was stunned by this sudden turn of events. Alas, then stated coldly that her words
were a complete lie. The girl panicked, certain that Tianba had exposed her to the master. But the man explained that he could not blindly trust any student's word. He then added that last night Wu didn't spend the night in the dormitory at all, but stayed with the Shu family. Li Manga's face went pale as she realized her catastrophic mistake. Alas, then ordered the students to follow him. Zhou Xuan sneered, telling the girl to die alone to avoid the shame. Back in the championship, the fierce battle raged on. Our main character had dared to humiliate Jian Kui, which sent the guy into a blind rage. He promised to murder Wu Fu. His true power was finally unleashed. The Shu family pinned all of their hopes on Wu Fu. With a ferocious roar, his opponent charged toward him, but the protagonist blocked his attack using the 33 secret technique. A blinding explosion rocked the entire arena. The onlookers could hardly believe that Wu had only recently reached the realm of Zhuan. He had to be a secret disciple of the Buddha song. Kuya was furious that his ultimate move didn't work. At the same time, his enemy hadn't even used a sword. Wu declared he didn't need one for an opponent as weak as Shinoi. The sheer arrogance of it, the guy promised to tear him to pieces. But our main character, with a contemptuous smirk, his opponent damned him to the deepest hells. Tiangan watched a knot of worry in his stomach as Wu Fu prepared to battle the fearsome
cultivator Yisheng with his entire being. The atmosphere in the ring crackled with tension. Shan Ku unleashed twin shuriken, aiming for his
enemy's unguarded back. President Lu moved to shout a warning, but it was unnecessary. Wu Fu's control over space was absolute. He was, after all, a Yan'an cultivator. But why did Qing wear such a grave expression? The girl knew her friend's true,
terrifying power. His opponent might be a top-ranked cultivator, but to Wu Fu he was weak. There was nothing to fear.
In an instant, Wu Fu attacked. Behind him, the radiant image of a golden Buddha blazed into existence. The very air around him thrummed with overwhelming energy. He effortlessly halted the battle axe hurtling toward him. The weapon instantly shattered into 1,000 pieces.
Yang Kui couldn't believe what he was seeing, though Wu Fu had always taught him that a cultivator's rank is never the true measure of their
strength. The crowd roared with pure ecstasy. Kongan saw it then, the sword chi flowing through his entire body. This was the highest form of martial arts. Xu Yingxing was utterly stunned. Her father was present, ready to stop Zhang Yan's schemes, serving as the main referee for this championship. If he truly made a move not even a half-step master
could hope to stop him, Wu Fu decided it was time to end this. But Shan Qi desperately called to his master for aid, shattering the
rules of the duel. Kongan and his son froze their breath caught in their throats. He Jun suddenly appeared in the ring, stopping our main character.
"We came here to learn," the elder explained, "not to inflict grievous harm." Wu Fu and the old man locked eyes in a silent challenge. Now a winner
had to be declared. Qing knew without a doubt it would be her friend. Tiangan approached Shanquei, presenting him the Tai Sacred.
Sword a gift from Elder Ju, its purpose to end Wu Fu's life. But our hero had heard every treacherous
word. With a single flick of his wrist, his energy obliterated the blade into dust. He turned to the master, his voice dripping with ice. You promised we came here only to learn. In that case, I will return the favor. To Shanquei! The old man barely had time to scream a warning to his student, but it was far too late. Karma was about to pay the fat man a visit. Don't you run away, Wu called out. You haven't received your gift. Master Zhang watched his heart pounding for Chukong, and just like that, Shan Qiu was dead. Heenan vowed to avenge yet another fallen brother. The killing had happened before countless witnesses. The fool could have lived if he hadn't tried to assassinate Wu. But now his life was forfeit and our hero stood tall. Tiangan burned with murderous intent. I will kill him, he vowed. But he needed to get closer. The killer had to pay for his brother's life. Someone from the crowd screamed, Protect Wu Fu! A blinding light suddenly flooded the entire hall. The Zhang Yang sect instantly went on high alert. The audience whispered in awe. How could a mere freshman possess such power? Someone suggested it was better to be offended than to end up dead. Han Po prepared to join the fray, but Conlin placed a hand on his shoulder, stopping him. He is my opponent, Conlin declared. The elder found it impossible to believe that the great Shu family would go to such lengths for some ordinary boy. But this was no longer his concern. Han Po scoffed at Kongan, warning him that his recent breakthrough made him unworthy to fight. Xu Yingzhang, her daughter, moved to shield the young man. Qing Qing urgently whispered that her grandfather was holding back the family master.
Wu Fu, you must escape now. Tiangan sneered, taunting him for hiding behind a woman when facing death's door.
Xia, he barked from the podium. Qing Qing pleaded with him not to fall for Tiangan's petty provocations. But it was a grave mistake. Wu Fu soared into the air, his voice booming across the arena. All my enemies are better off dead. Qing Qing knew then. This was how it would end. Kill him, Tiangan ordered his sect. Xu Yingxiang spotted H. Tanang entering the ring. The old man believed Wu Fu was finished. Soon he would settle his own score with Conlin. But the elder quickly realized something had gone terribly wrong. Wu Fu formed a massive ring of pure energy, and inside it, Qing Qing saw the glint of a divine sword. Beams of raw power erupted from him. The energy was so immense it annihilated everything in its path. Tiangan could barely remain standing. It was unbelievable his enemy had just broken through to the realm of Tonan for Wu Fu. Nothing was impossible, and this spectacular show was only just beginning. He raised his right hand.
Toward the heavens, seizing control of countless swords, Master Zhang roared with fury, trying to stop him. He would not let the boy make another move.
Tiangan panicked, shaking his fist and screaming threats at Wu Fu. He begged his master to protect him by killing his enemy. In response, a storm of countless swords descended upon his body. A massive explosion rocked the arena, and when the smoke cleared, the crowd saw the body of Hyanggan pierced by blades of light. With his last breath, he croaked for his master to save him. Han Po's hand almost reached Wu Fu, but inches away, it froze, refusing to obey him. It was some kind of external force. This was the power of Bing Sun. He had arrived to protect the boy. The old man's voice was steel. Han Po, remove your hand from Wu Fu. And he hadn't come alone. With him was Liu, his own master, who commanded, release Wu Fu now. Every head in the arena turned to the newcomers, including our main character. But to him, it all feels like a carefully laid trap. His fury erupts, the last thread of his patience snapping. Now Wu will drag his opponent straight to hell. Qing Qing cries out for him to be careful, as Hanno unleashes a storm of massive crystals attacking from every direction. A deafening collision rocks the arena, stunning everyone into a sudden deathly silence. The only sounds left are Xia's frantic barks and Qing Qing desperately screaming Wu Fu's name. That attack held the full power of a master. He had to be dead. The girl still sees him as nothing but arrogant. Then the smoke begins to clear, and Wu Fu is standing completely unharmed, a sword now in his hand. The power of a half-step master, it seems utterly insufficient. Qing Qing is frozen in shock, believing her friend had perished. But he had effortlessly countered Hanno's ultimate attack.
Kongan smiles. His judgment of people has always been sharp, but it's far too early to celebrate. There isn't a single trace
of fear in the protagonist's eyes. Han Po prepares his next assault, launching a pair of crystals straight for Wu Fu, and for Qing Qing. With a flick of his wrist, he deflects them both. Even if his foe is a master, he should have run. The old man wants to witness this boy's true courage. Wu utters a mysterious name, Singen Zhen, and shatters every crystal flying his way before ascending into the air. He calls out another name, Luan Singin, and Han Po's face twists with rage. He screams, calling his opponent a cheeky little bastard. The entire hall is engulfed in a blinding light. The crowd can only think. He has become a monster able to challenge a half-step master. Their battle is becoming the stuff of legends.
A cataclysmic explosion rips through the ring. As the light fades, the aftermath is revealed. The boy used some unknown sword art, and Hanpo's arm is sliced.
In several places, the cut's so deep you can see muscle. The injury is horrifying. Ping Su reminds him he's merely a half-step.
Master yet, he dared to harm one of his own. The old man knew then killing Wu Fu today was impossible. They retreated, but not without
the Zhengyi Young sect declaring Wu Fu their eternal enemy. Hano vows that next time he will personally claim the protagonist's life. Xia barks with joy seeing his master is safe. Wu stumbles, grabbing his head as Ching Ching rushes to his side. The girl
is frantic with worry. Just as the protagonist loses his balance, he stumbles forward, right into Miss Lu's embrace. She promises
him that everything is all right now. Wu Fu knows he can't die yet. Hano's cultivation wasn't enough. He must recover his strength quickly. Seeing this, Ching Ching feels a pang of embarrassment over her own smaller assets. Ping Su never imagined Wu could master the art of alchemy, let alone possess such a unique grasp of kendo. The old man lets out a hearty laugh as Conlin and his son look on, completely stunned. The head of the Su family wonders if they are witnessing the birth of a new grandmaster. Just then, Ping Song extends his hand, offering the boy a pill. This very elixir was improved just days ago based on Wu Fu's advice. It can greatly restore his physical power. The young man thanks the master while the crowd murmurs in shock that the grandmaster himself is here. And on such familiar terms with Wu Ping Song's own alchemy, had been stagnant for years, unable to progress, but it was this young man's guidance that cleared the doubt from his mind. He then asks if Wu Fu doesn't mind. He could
take the grandmaster on as his student. The boy nearly chokes. Ping Song immediately worries about his condition, but he's fine, just
a little overwhelmed. How could he possibly make such a choice? What should he even think? Because the truth is, Ping Song was already his master in his previous life. If Wu Fu hadn't returned to the past, he never would have reached this level. Meanwhile, at the Jiang Yang sect, Hano issues a decree Wu Fu the Shu family and the hidden master must all die. A boy enters the throne room. The master was waiting for him. Back at the arena, the ring is in ruins, and with no contestants left, the announcer moves to declare the Yunhai University student the winner. But he is cut off. 2 men and a woman enter the hall. To them, it's unacceptable for a mere freshman to steal the show. They radiate a dangerous energy. Wu Fu knows he must be cautious. These are the student council members from the South China Martial Arts Academy. They organized this very championship. Xia immediately starts barking at the giant red-haired boy. Wu Fu tells him to stand down, but the dog won't stop. Annoyed by the noise, the brute decides to silence the dog himself with his fist. Wu Fu will not allow it. With a single fluid motion, he strikes the insolent challenger on the shoulder, blades sending him crashing face first to the ground. The other South China Academy students just stare in disbelief. Their vice president was known for his incredible physical strength, yet their friend was taken down in an instant. The guy wakes up completely bewildered with no idea who or where he is. This freshman has certainly done Yunhai University proud. He orders the strangers to leave as Xia continues to bark triumphantly. The Martial Arts Academy reigns supreme as the top university in Bayang province, and they're the honored guests of this tournament. To offend them would be courting disaster. A freshman with glasses burns with ambition, eager to prove his worth. Suddenly, the spectators from Yunhai University remembered. They had urgent homework to do, or that their cat was giving birth. Anything to get away? They fled from the ring like a bunch of chickens. Seeing no one would fight, the girl invited Captain Chin to watch her utterly demolish a freshman. But President Liu warns his friend to be careful. He'd heard that this Wu was the real deal. Shu's sister decides to see this for herself. The protagonist, however, is certain her little hammer isn't nearly enough. The competition begins. The girl vows to crush him, swinging a giant hammer. For a moment, she thinks she's won, but her joy is cut short. Her mighty hammer shatters into 1,000 pieces, all thanks to Wu's overwhelming power. Sister Shu is in complete disbelief. This is it, her utter defeat. The South China Academy students can only watch as a mere freshman steals the show. Captain Chin scoffs, saying the boy should be ashamed. Wu suggests they talk with their fists if they find defeat so hard to swallow. Ching Ching shakes her head. Her arrogant friend knows nothing about the South China Martial Arts Academy. Captain Chin admits Wu has some skill, but showing off like this is pure arrogance. Our protagonist hasn't been on Earth for very long, and his name is still unknown. He never expected such a prestigious academy existed. But if what those students are saying is true, then Wu Fu should one day come and learn from a true master. Captain Chin dismisses him as a fool, but promises to visit their university. In a few days, the championship ended with Wu Fu's stunning victory. Ping Sun soon heard that the South
China Academy could truly rival the power of Zongman. This was a matter Wu needed to pay attention to. The master then presents him with an elixir, a legendary potion for an instant breakthrough. If he can't reach the Yanang realm, this will save him from unimaginable hardship.
The main character expressed his deepest gratitude. Wu opened the flask, and the elixir's energy poured out. Ping Song nervously asked if he planned to devour it all at once. 10 elixirs were needed to reach the Wanang realm, but consuming them together would make him explode. This boy has to be insane. But Wu gathered all 10 pills in his hand and swallowed them without hesitation. In his hands, the legendary Star Blade materializes. The Grandmaster tells Liu to defend himself. Wu is about to break through. To the Yunong realm. A blade of pure energy hovered over his head. At its very tip, a single crimson drop was about to fall on our main character. He raised his face to the heavens, boldly welcoming the change. A powerful pillar of light erupted from his body, a sign of ascension to a new sphere visible from everywhere. This was the legendary realm of Yunnan. Liu was furious. If he didn't act immediately, he'd lose the chance to claim Wu the magic soldier. Just then, the Shu family arrived. The clan's patriarch praised the young man. So young, yet so incredibly promising. Our main character was now a cultivator at the Yannan stage, but the head of the Shu family coughed violently. He needed to go home, to heal his old wounds. With his daughter and granddaughter, he started to leave, but Wu asked them to wait. Conlin froze. He saw the blade flying swiftly towards him, his face twisted in a grimace of pain. A bodyguard lunged forward. He roared that the Shu family had treated Wu well, and this was how he repaid them. But Xu Yingshang stopped him because Wu was actually healing Conlin. The old man realized it too, his eyes narrowing. He felt several capillaries burst inside him as he coughed, and then vomited a mouthful of dark blood. His son and granddaughter were terrified for him. Liu believed Wu Fu's personality was dangerously unbalanced. But behind Conlin, a flame of brilliant light shone. The Grandmaster explained this was a great opportunity to observe something incredible up close. This array wasn't just for healing internal wounds, but for one's own development. Conlin thanked his savior. Without this miraculous method, his old injuries would have been fatal. Liu watched on. He once saw Wu Fu as a small stone. Now he had become a massive headache, a threat the guy must get rid of, as soon as possible. You have only yourself to blame, Wu Fu said, suggesting they return to the city. Pingon? And Li Ju followed him, the dutiful apprentices trailing their master. The school bus brought the students back to Yunhai University. The students said goodbye to President Liu. Everyone had their own plans, but they would all be celebrating. Today, he was amazing. He fought and won every single one of his fights. The one they all used to call garbage had become their greatest pride. Wu Fu thought he could finally rest, but President Liu said it was too early to rejoice. The student council was coming for him soon. But for what reason? At the school gate, Wu was met by Zhou Shen holding a banner. He was there to congratulate him on his victory. The display confused even Miss Liu. The main character couldn't understand what was happening. The guy quickly explained that while he was at the championships, Lai Yao had snuck into his room after conspiring with Hang Gan. Her plan wasn't just to slander his name. He wants to make a name for himself. But unfortunately for one scheming girl, Zhou Shen and his uncle saw right through her plan. That morning, Wu Feng announced that Tinan was dead. The man felt a wave of relief, glad he hadn't slandered the school's pride. As for Li Mong Yao, Zhou Xuen had locked her away in her dorm room, and Wu Feng had thanked him for it. Later, the president summons him to the student council. But first, our main character arrives at his ex-girlfriend's room. Desperate cries for help echoed from within. She begged him to open the door, and just then it swung open. Wu Feng stood there. Li Mong Yao's eyes widened in shock. She couldn't believe he was alive, and she had no idea what fate befell Hang Gan. A cold laugh escaped Wu Feng's lips. His worst enemy was finally dead, and his entire family line had been erased. The girl couldn't believe what she was hearing. She scrambled toward her ex-boyfriend, frantically trying to explain herself, pinning all the blame on the now-dead Tiangen. Admitting her mistake, she begged him to let her go. Mao was barely clothed, her body draped in a single white sheet. She pressed herself against his chest, making an offer. If he let her go, she would be his devoted servant for eternity. What a tempting deal. Did she really think she could get off so easily after everything she'd done? Her body whistled through the air as Wu Feng's punch sent her flying into the wall. He covered her with the sheet without a single touch. He told her to pack her things and leave. Outside in the hall, Zhouan and his friend were trying to listen in. Suddenly, the room fell silent. When Li Mong Yao emerged, they wondered what could have possibly happened inside. She vowed to make Wu Feng's life a living hell. But her friend knew better. You don't mess with a monster like that. Back in his room, the main character was hanging his clothes when the door burst open. It was his roommate wearing a brand new look. He sported a light blue jumpsuit, a bright red cape, and a hero's badge, striking a pose for his friend. He asked for a rating, and Wu Feng spat out his water in shock. Even Xie, the dog, looked like he was about to be sick.
Wang Mong seemed to have lost his mind. He was convinced he'd become incredibly strong, but his friend had some bad news.
With that level of power, he couldn't even defeat Xia. The dog yipped in agreement, but Wang Mong refused to listen. "He's just a dog," he yelled, pointing his finger, right as Xia's jaws snapped shut around it. The boy admitted defeat instantly. With Xia perched triumphantly on his back, Wang Mang collapsed in tears. He couldn't even win against a dog Wu Feng scooped up his pet. It seems Xia almost had a breakthrough. Just then, his friend mentioned that the Grandmaster was looking for him. "It can't be that important. Let him wait." This was the leader of all Grandmasters, but Wu Feng was unfazed. If the old man wanted to see him so badly, he could come find him himself. In the Great Tanfu Garden, President Liu had a question. Did Xu Qingqing know Wu Feng's true identity? It seemed she was investigating him, but she claimed it was just curiosity. Regardless, her father wished to see the boy. Qing assumed Miss Liu was from the legendary Liu family. Her question was timid, but when she repeated it, her friend pressed a finger to her lips, silencing her in the quiet mountain forest. On a stone table at the Losi house, the main hero performed a special technique on Xia, preparing the dog for a breakthrough. The girl was amazed that a mere pet could be capable of such a feat. A powerful aura surged into Xia. If his bloodline was truly special, dormant abilities might awaken within him. Lo Shi then asked Wu Feng to teach her the Kosu skills, a form of dual fencing. But to control such power, there was only one path: dual development. The girl was eager to begin, but Wu Feng had to focus on his pet. Lo Shi's face fell. "Don't worry," he said. "I can use my hands." His answer was not quite what she was expecting. Wu Feng quickly explained he could use Mu's palm seal to counter the negative side effects of the technique. He realized she had completely misunderstood his previous words.
But she insisted she knew exactly what he meant. Lo Shi suggested they begin with the first phase butterflies and flowers.
After mastering the 8th phase, she felt she couldn't possibly advance to the 9th level of Kosu swordsmanship. "Not a problem," Wu Feng said calmly. "I will enter your mind and guide you personally." The girl's pupils narrowed. In an instant, she found herself in a boundless ethereal space. Lo Shi froze, taking in the strange new world around her. Wu Feng invited her to practice. But she was stunned by his appearance. He was a being of pure naked energy. After what felt like ages of practice in his mindscape, she finally broke through, mastering the Kosu swordsmanship. Pure joy erupted from her heart. She spread her arms wide and laughed, forgetting Wu Feng was still there. Seeing him, she blushed crimson. She tried to apologize, but he simply told her not to distract him. He was still helping Xia, who was beginning to glow like an orb, like a butterfly from a cocoon. Could this dog truly fly? Suddenly, the shell cracked and Xiaoha burst forth. A stunned silence fell over the room. The dog had wings. Luo Yi felt deeply indebted to Wu Fu, but to him it was a simple matter. But if she really wanted to thank him, his eyes drifted down to her impressive chest. The girl quickly explained that it was impossible. She couldn't do that. She was his teacher. With that, Luo Yi was the first to head back to the school. Wu Fu was left standing alone in the forest, utterly confused. He glanced in her direction. All he wanted was help finding more opponents to fight. Why was Luo Yi so cruel? Xiaoha seemed to agree with a supportive bark. Meanwhile, not far from the school, a group of thugs decided to teach Chao Shan a lesson. They remembered clearly how he used to be Wu Fu's enemy, but now he just grovels. Just then, they spotted a dog rustling in the bushes. For Chao Shan's survival was far more important than pride. A thug lunged forward, his elbow aimed to strike. Shan threw his arms up to block the blow, but was saved by Xiaoha's shocking appearance no one had ever seen. A cultivating dog, before Wu Fu, then emerged from the trees looking for his pet. "What are you people doing?" At that moment, Wu Fu was spotted by the gang. Their leader moved to confront him. He leaped into the air, raising his leg for a devastating kick. Aimed right at our main character, Wu Fu didn't recognize him, but his enemy knew exactly who he was facing. The murderer who annihilated the He family and now represented the Zhengyang sect. The thug's foot flew closer and closer to our hero's face, but with almost no effort, Wu Fu brushed the attack aside. He finally realized this was one of the Zhengyang participants. If that's the case, he needed no other reason to kill him. The elder had warned the sect members to be careful of the demonic soldier Wu Fu. In a flash, our hero landed a powerful blow to the attacker's head. He could barely stay on his feet, but refused to show it. It was an 8-figure blow. The thug was still sure that his power was superior. He conjured a protective barrier around himself. The sheer force of the technique sent his own friends flying. Now, Wu Fu's sword aura would be useless against him. The man sneered and demanded he hand over the demonic soldier in exchange for his life. He had no idea that his enemy was already standing right behind him, with a cold blade pressed to his throat. "Don't move," Wu Fu ordered. He released the attacker with a simple message. Tell the Zhangyang sect to stop sending me their garbage. The man still couldn't process what had happened. He never even saw the main character move behind him. Wu Fu would always give a warm welcome to members of the Zhangyang sect. Xiao Shan finally accepted it. Wu Fu was no longer the cowardly boy from before. Xiao Ha barked happily beside him. The boy thanked him for the rescue. As a sign of his gratitude, he treated them to some delicious snacks. Xiao Ha devoured them so quickly he almost choked. But Xiao Shan still had plenty of treats to share. Wu Fu was no longer surprised by his pet's expanding waistline. So this is who had been feeding the dog. Xiao Shan wasn't doing this because of any past issues with Xiao Ha's master. He just loves animals. Wu Fu advised him to worry about himself first. In a few days, an official from the Manhwa Martial Arts Academy would be visiting the school. Our hero asked Xiao Shan to handle things. And without him, he didn't need the others' concern. Besides, the most powerful enemy had yet to appear. Elsewhere, a man shattered a teacup with a single powerful clench of his fist. He was furious. The great Yuan kingdom? How could anyone think they were running from mere mortals? Military forces were forbidden from meddling in earthly affairs. And yet, Wu Fu continued to provoke them, breaking all the rules. A subordinate knelt before his throne. He was given one order: bring him the boy's head. Meanwhile, high in the mountains at the house of Master Pingzong, a man cast a spell over a cauldron. He came here personally to focus on his pill refinement. But when it came to the art of refining knowledge, could anyone truly surpass Wu Fu? The student placed the result on the table before him. If his teacher's knowledge of alchemy was number 2, then who in the world would dare claim to be number 1? As if by pure coincidence, the door swung open. Liu turned, and there stood Wu Fu at the entrance. He could feel a powerful aura. You are Pingzong, the Grandmaster of Pill Refinement. The old man didn't answer. His student glared at the guest with suspicion. Xiao Ha slept cutely in her owner's arms as the main character grinned. It seemed Liu hadn't given up. Once the Grandmaster successfully refines the mixed soul pill, which requires 35,000 elite earth veins, he'll be able to build a supreme foundation. This revelation alerted the Master. A young man shouldn't know of such an elixir. Wu Fu then admitted, I do not belong to this world. I have already reached the 9th heaven. His words looked down on all intelligent creatures. To them, reaching the 9th heaven was their ultimate goal. But his was even higher. Liu's blades dropped from his hands, clattering on the floor. He was utterly shocked by the news that Wu Fu had reached the 9th heaven. He had to get rid of this opponent, and fast. The student informed the master that he was going down the mountain. Don't bother returning tonight. The main character heard the envy dripping from his tone. He warns Pingzong not to meddle with his student. Don't let yourself be consumed by greed. The master realized he'd stopped caring for Liu. From the very moment, Liu tried to poison him. Wu was taken aback, so the master already knew the truth. The protagonist's skills were legendary, but when the moment of truth arrived, could he truly act? The young man cut him off, urging him to pursue Liu, but the master refused. Perhaps this was a fate his students had to face themselves. Wu remarked that Pingzong hadn't changed one bit, still full of selfless devotion towards his disciples. It seemed the old man was slowly piecing the puzzle together, but Wu promised they would meet again. He vanished into the forest. He could feel it. Liu was close. The main character called out, telling him to stop hiding and face him. It was time to fight. Liu emerged from behind a tree. In Wu Fu's eyes, he looked pathetic, utterly helpless and capable only of empty threats. He lacked a technique powerful enough to defeat a Yenin realm master. All he could hope for were cheap tricks. Liu unleashed 1,000 blades, sending them hurtling toward his foe, but it was useless. He was still far too inexperienced. If the boy had reached the Yenin realm, an attack like that might have actually killed Wu. Liu couldn't believe his enemy had dodged a direct hit. Now that Liu had made his move, it was Wu Fu's turn to strike. Steel screamed against steel as their swords met. Liu realized Wu's blade was impossibly heavy. Wielding his constellation sword technique, our hero cleaved a tree in two with a single devastating blow. The Star Sword skill. That belonged to the Liu sect. They battled fiercely, each trying to overwhelm the other to prove who was superior. The boy never expected his opponent to be this powerful. He wondered where Wu could have learned such a skill. Who was he? The main character then unleashed the 4th form. Their swords erupted in a shower of sparks. A massive explosion tore through the forest, a blast so powerful, even Pingzong saw it. The man had hoped his students would see their folly and stop. But the exact opposite had happened. The master never imagined they would sink this deep into their conflict. Once the pill was finally ready, the old man decided he would leave this place for good. When the smoke cleared from the blast, a bloodied Liu was leaning on Wu's shoulder. With his dying breath, he demanded to know who Wu was and why he knew so many secret techniques that belonged to him. After gasping out those words, the exhausted Liu collapsed to
the ground. The main character simply explained that in their past life, he might have even called him brother. With those final words, Wu shattered Liu's sword with his bare hand. From the depths of interplanetary space, a foreign object blazed a path toward Earth. It tore through the atmosphere, leaving a fiery trail before crashing in the highlands. Few immediately sensed the artifact's powerful aura. The young man glanced out his window. Could the sword fragments have returned? A fleet of identical black cars approached Yunhai University. They were met by a delegation from the educational institution, including President Liu herself. A girl stepped out of the lead car. To her, this was just another ordinary school filled with a weak aura. Its cultivators looked pathetic in her eyes. She'd heard that a Miss Lee was the student council president of Yunhai University and that a freshman from this very school had won the tournament. Their gazes locked, a silent challenge passing between them. But they hadn't come here for a fight. Yunhai University were the champions of this year's tournament. They came to deliver their quota. Miss Liu noted they had already received a priceless spiritual elixir as their prize. The girl was confused. What quota could she possibly mean? This was a permit to attend the South China Martial Arts University. The students nearby gasped in excitement. This was their chance. After all, it was the greatest academy in all of Yunhai. A chance to compete there meant a chance to face even stronger opponents. An opportunity Wu would never miss. The young man just happened to be passing by. No one could believe he was actually here, Captain. Qin approached Wu Fu, fulfilling his promise from the tournament. He handed a single sheet of paper to the boy, offering no explanation. Sister Shu whispered into his ear, telling him it was an invitation from the South China Martial Arts University. The main character considered it. The academy clearly believed he had the best foundation for their training. Moreover, the university was teeming with legendary masters. Sister Su spoke to Wu Fu without any sense of propriety, practically seducing him with her words. This drove Qing Qing absolutely mad with rage. The girl saw nothing special in having a large chest. But in that moment, she couldn't help but notice President Liu standing right beside her. With her own beautiful cleavage, Qing Qing felt utterly defeated. Suddenly, Wu Fu crumpled the invitation in his hand and tossed it over his shoulder. Sister Q was left speechless. A mere freshman needed to know his place. The Chinese reputation of South China University was not something to be taken lightly. She hoped this guest's reaction would teach Wu a painful lesson. The man stopped the main character, placing a hand on his shoulder. It was their own university's idea to send him to South China. Wu Fu had better drop the arrogant act. The man sneered, assuming the freshman was simply afraid. In response, he felt Wu warned them not to fight here, but the student overstepped. The very earth fractured beneath the protagonist's feet. He turned his gaze icy toward the man who dared touch his shoulder, a silent question in his eyes. It seems he had a death wish. The main character ignited a firestorm at Yunhai University, a place where the school rules are absolute. And for violators, the punishment is severe. The proof. The fool who challenged Wu now lies unconscious, slumped against a wall. Our hero didn't just offend the mighty Jiangyang sect. He put a student from a rival university in harm's way. He scoffs, declaring Captain Qin isn't even worthy to stand before him, and promises Yunhai University will pay dearly for this shame. Meanwhile, in a secret mountain cave, Wu sniffs the air. Something feels wrong. Elsewhere, she and Louis are bathing while practicing their sword forms. The teacher senses a chill from Wu Fu, reminding her that improper thoughts have no place in training, lest they lead to an embarrassing nosebleed. But it was already too late. The inevitable happened. Louis could only cover her face with both palms in utter shame. At the same time, behind the mountains, Wu and the teacher are searching for Miss Liu, who peeks into a cave looking for her friends. With Xia by her side, the girl steps forward into the light. She's certain Wu is just ahead. But as Miss Liu calls his name, her words freeze in her throat. A naked teacher stands before her trying to cover up. She arrived looking pristine, while Wu was less than presentable. The student council president's eyes blazed with fury. Louis desperately tried to calm her, insisting it wasn't what it seemed. But Miss Liu refused to listen. She trusted her own eyes. But then her rage vanished. She noticed a unique inscription on a nearby stone, and her anger subsided. Wu Fu asked why she was even looking for him. It all traced back to his last encounter with the South China Martial Arts University. Their students now held a deep-seated hatred for Yunhai University. They have countless masters, Miss Liu added. They are leagues beyond the Zhang sect. Before she could finish, a violent tremor shook the ground. The three of them froze in place. When the world stopped shaking, Wu announced that a presence was approaching. "It's an old friend," he said calmly. "I should go and offer a proper greeting." The sun hung high in the sky, yet a second more brilliant light streaked across the heavens like a falling comet. It crashed near Ping Song's home, kicking up a blinding cloud of dust. The master stepped out to greet his otherworldly guests. Two figures descended from the heavens before him. The younger, a tanned warrior, held a golden chest.
The master had been waiting.
For days he had anticipated their arrival, hoping they brought the medicine he so desperately needed. They did not disappoint.
As Ping Song accepted the medicine, he remarked, "The world's spiritual energy is weak, but it is perfect for refining the mixed soul pill." He knew that only Wu Fu held the rare materials required. The technique for refining this legendary pill was thought to be lost to time. If he could truly recreate it, the elder promised his aid. Just then, a figure burst from the trees, leaving a column of dust in their wake. Ping Song recognized the energy signature at once. It was his friend from Earth. The young celestial visitor sneered, "To me, all mortals tied to Earth are nothing but trash." From the dust cloud, Wu's face emerged. The master worried he might be injured, but the young man had escaped any serious harm. The man then introduced his brother Bayan. Ping Song had traveled across entire worlds seeking greater knowledge of alchemy and pills. His association with mortals was unavoidable, but he never should have introduced his brother to this unpredictable youth. Wu had known this man for years. He had hoped to help the master avoid a fatal tragedy once the pill was complete. But he never ever expected that Bayan himself would descend upon this world. A fiery aura erupted behind Wu Bayan claimed not to remember him. His companions Wan leaped forward to protect his mentor. Using his own body as a shield, their swords clashed with a deafening ring, and in an instant the tanned warrior's weapon shattered into 1,000 pieces. He couldn't even comprehend what had just happened. The speed of Wu's movements was impossible. The main character ordered him to stand down, but the young man refused to yield, fiercely protecting his teacher. Zwan failed his task, sent flying meters away. Now it was Bayan's turn. Ping Song pleaded with Wu Fu to stop, but Wu had already unleashed the Star Sword skill Heavenly Stream, and Bayan recognized the dance of death. He slammed his right foot down hard. A protective sphere of energy erupted around him. The sheer impact of the shockwave threw Wu backward. His strength was not enough. At his current level of cultivation, this was a reckless move. It would be impossible for him
to escape Bayan's wrath. To think a pitiful bastard from a lesser kingdom dares act so rudely before me?
Killing you would be as easy as crushing an ant. But just as he was about to strike, Ping Song grabbed his brother's hand, stopping him.
Bayan was shocked by his actions, but it turned out the mixed soul pill could only be perfected to its highest quality.
With the help of this very young man. It was hard to believe, but it was the truth. Ping Song confessed he once felt the same. The method for refining the pill had been lost for eons. If Wu hadn't already restored it to 70%, Bayan would never agree. But if his brother's words were true, today's offense would be forgotten. Wu Fu declared confidently that he would prove his worth. He asked only to borrow the Grandmaster's alchemy furnace. He would perfect the pill right here, right now. Zwan scoffed at the main character's claim. He couldn't believe it was possible with such a low level of cultivation, but Wu simply pressed his palms together. The legendary process of refining the mixed soul pill had begun. The men watching nearby eyed the young man with suspicion. There was something uncannily familiar about his alchemy technique. The room was suddenly bathed in an ethereal blue glow. Wu Fu made a swift hand gesture, and the furnace lid flew open. A brilliant light shone from within. It appeared the main character had actually purified the mixed soul. Pilbayan was stunned. He was completely surprised by the young man's success. He had truly managed to improve the elixir of immortality. He demanded to see it. Wu didn't mind. He had really done it. But what power did this perfected pill hold? Ping Song decided to test it for himself. The master tossed the elixir into his mouth. Zuan hesitated, full of doubt, but ultimately decided to risk it, bringing the blue pill toward his lips. But suddenly the Grandmaster coughed up a mouthful of black blood. The young man immediately abandoned the thought. This elixir had to be poisoned. Bayan, however, said nothing. He had anticipated an outcome just like this. People are so foolish. Ziwan roared, accusing Wu of attempted murder. He vowed to end him right here, right now. But the main character just laughed. He told them to look closer. A surge of new strength filled Peng An. Ethereal blue radiance flooded the entire room. The rejuvenation pill was a success. For years, Li Ju had been poisoning the master, stalling his development completely. This elixir was purging his body of every last toxin, and Wu had been able to perfectly refine the pill, adding his own unusual effect. How intriguing. Though Wu claimed it was simple, creating a pill of this quality was impossible for any ordinary person. Bayan finally spoke. Did he and the boy share some deep-seated hatred? He couldn't recall ever meeting him before. From the moment Bayan tried to crush the rose, Wu knew he hadn't changed at all. This boy was far from simple. The old man realized he must watch him very carefully. A mere boy from the Yandian kingdom should never be able to deceive him. The man admitted his mistake, begging not to be blamed, but our main character saw right through his insincerity. He turned to Ping Song, hoping the elixir would aid his recovery. Furthermore, the boy warned the master to pay close attention to the people he surrounded himself with. Just then, Wu Fu received a message. He couldn't remember anyone on Earth using texts instead of just calling. Reading the sender's name, his face turned pale with horror. That same day, the Shu family home was under siege. The Zhongyang sect had come to destroy them. The clan fought to protect their own, but the granddaughter refused to flee without her grandfather. Her father pleaded with her to run. As long as they lived, there was still hope, but Qing believed that Wu would come and save them. Hanno just laughed at her delusion. If that boy showed up, he'd only see their lifeless bodies. He gave the order to execute the head of the family. The sect members rushed forward to attack. Su Kong'an roared, "You will not touch my family." He would never allow them to harm the Su clan, even if it meant sacrificing his own life. He fought with sheer desperation. The grandfather's eyes began to glow with immense energy. He crouched low, slamming his palms into the ground. The force sent the sect members flying in all directions. But Hanno just scoffed at his opponent. He could barely defend himself, let alone protect the others. The elder prepared to deliver the final crushing blow. Su Kong'an managed to summon a protective sphere, but it took every ounce of his strength. The impact kicked up a massive cloud of dust. Everyone caught within it choked and coughed. Amidst the chaos, the grandfather heard voices. His son and granddaughter. They hadn't abandoned him. Hanno casually waved his fingers 3 times, sending a torrent of energy toward the remaining Zhu family. They braced for their final moment. Qing screamed Wu's name into the sky, and it seems someone answered. The elder's attack was blocked. Hanno sneered, "Anyone who opposes the Zhongyang sect will die." But when the dust finally settled, no one could believe their eyes. Massive, majestic wings had shielded the Shu family. As the danger passed, they opened, and everyone saw Xia, now several times its original size. The elder was stunned. How did this mythical creature get here? But the reason for its appearance could only be one person. Wu. The sound of his laughter filled the air, Hanno's face twisted in rage. Before him stood his most hated enemy, an enemy he would never let escape alive. Wu had arrived just in time. He ordered Xia to protect the Shu family no matter what. The elder was unfazed, confident he would crush the boy today. Shu Yingxin shouted a warning. Hanpo was a master of the reverse reality level. He was just one step away from the journey Wu would not last long, being only at the onion level. Don't be so arrogant. But it was too late. The elder lunged forward, intending to send the young man straight to hell, but then Bane appeared behind him. They had followed Wu, sensing something major was, and just like that, he vanished. Hanpo realized he was facing no ordinary warrior, but a true master. What level of power is this, and is he truly on Wu Fu's side? The Grandmaster urges the Zhangyang sect leader to wait. The Shu family let out a collective sigh of relief. It's Wu Fu's allies. It seems he didn't come alone. With reinforcements of this caliber, Hanpo knew his entire sect was in jeopardy, let alone killing Wu Fu. But Bayan clarified their position. He stated they were merely here to observe, and would not interfere in their conflict. Hanpo thought they were allies, but Bayan immediately denied it. Pingsong, however, spoke up, reminding Bayan of the great debt he owed Wu Fu. If his brother refused to help the young man, then Pingsong would join the battle himself. But Bayan held him back. This battle belongs to the lower planet. As outsiders, they are forbidden to intervene. Yet Wu Fu was not concerned. He was confident he could handle this alone. Hanpo let out a mocking laugh. Today, his opponent was dancing with death, but who would be the one to fall? Facing the Zhangyang sect leader would require more than just brute force. The main character unleashed his Star Sword's reverse technique. Seeing this, Hanpo countered with his own deadly formation. He launched it at the young warrior to test the limits of his defense. 100 blades filled the sky. This was the signature technique of the Zhangyang sect. The Shu family watched in terror. Qing screamed out his name. He knew he couldn't destroy every single sword, but if he could shatter the formation itself, the blades began to shatter into a million pieces. Hanpo couldn't believe his eyes. This should have been impossible. Looking closer, the old man saw Wu Fu emerge, radiating a completely new aura. The young man vowed the elder would not leave this place alive. The Shu family stared in disbelief. Wu Fu was standing right before them. Ziyuan asked her master with a trembling voice, what had just transpired? Bayan explained he had reached the Yanyan kingdom, a realm of power to be truly feared. Our hero was overflowing with newfound strength, but his opponent refused to yield. Gritting his teeth, Hanpo hurled threats at him. But deep down, he knew his only choice was to flee. Yet there was no escape now. Wu Fu tightened his grip on his blade. His killing intent was palpable. He yearned for his enemy's demise. The very air crackled with the sword's energy. In a flash, Wu Fu's blade found its mark, piercing right through Hanpo's defense. The elder never saw it coming. The blow tore through his shoulder. He had no time to react. Everyone watching held their breath in shock. Ziyuan couldn't even see what happened. Even Grandmaster Bayan failed to track his movements. Han Po stared in disbelief. This mere boy had actually wounded him. He clutched his shoulder, trying to stop the bleeding. Wu Fu vowed to make him pay for everything, for what he did to the Shu family. The Zhang Yang sect leader lost sight of him again. At first, he only saw a single beam of light. Then another and another. They completely surrounded Han Po. The elder roared with fury. He screamed that this stinking brat wouldn't outsmart him. Clasping his hands together, the old man erected a powerful barrier. He swore he would find his foe no matter where he hid. From above, the Grandmasters watched the chaos unfold. They formed a protective dome around themselves. Bayan remarked it was foolish for Han Po to use such massive aura attacks, especially in his weakened state. But Wu Fu wasn't hiding at all. The elder's desperate attacks were now useless against him. Still, Han Po refused to give up attacking relentlessly. Despite the onslaught, Wu Fu walked towards him completely unharmed. He effortlessly shattered the elder's protective shield. As they came face to face, the moment of truth had finally arrived. Han Po thought he had an opening, but it was far too late. The Zhang Yang sect leader finally understood his fatal mistake. The Star Sword was already at his throat. He let out a final scream as his body was sent flying. But the old man refused to accept his defeat. A cataclysmic explosion rocked the battlefield. Those nearby were thrown off their feet by the shockwave. A massive crater was left in its wake. Bayan knew Wu Fu wasn't weak, but this level of destructive power proved he was already on par with a true master. Ziyuan desperately searched for him in the smoke. Then she saw him floating in the air. As the energy sustaining him began to fade, the spiritual armor dissolved into nothingness, and he began to plummet to the ground. Ping Song feared the worst for Wu Fu. Qing Qing rushed to his side. She caught him just in time, gently laying him on the ground. She looked at him with terrified eyes. He had made her worry so much. It was impossible to tell how badly he was hurt. But Wu Fu assured them that the Shu family's technique had drained his energy, but he was fine. After saying those words, the exhausted young man collapsed into Qing Qing's arms. The others rushed over to help as Wu Fu lost consciousness. Ping Song was more concerned than anyone. He wouldn't even let his brother examine the boy. He insisted on checking his condition himself. But Qing Qing couldn't be calmed. The girl frantically asked what was wrong with Wu Fu. Ping Song's expression was grim. The boy's injuries might be far worse than they appeared. Happening. The girl noted that Wu Fu wouldn't be saved. But the master explained that releasing such incredible power always comes with a terrible price. Bayan informed Ziyuan that they were leaving now. He refused to wait for his brother. Ping Song needed a moment to say goodbye to his earthly friend. And then they vanished, leaving a trail of yellow and purple light. Ping Song saw it clearly. Bayan had thought Wu was a capable cultivator, but it turned out he was nothing but a reckless child. Ziyuan demanded a better explanation. It was foolishness to sacrifice your own life force to boost your potential. Wu would likely spend the rest of his days bedridden. The Shu family frantically begged the Grandmaster to save him. There had to be some way. The elder calmed them, saying Wu Fu was all right. Judging by his pulse, there was still a deep well of strength inside his body. It was as if he'd achieved an impossible breakthrough. At first, the elder assumed the young man had burned away his own life force. But he'd found another path. Just how many secrets was this boy hiding? Ping Song had fulfilled his duty. Now it was time for the Shu family to repay the favor. In the heart of the Zhongyang sect's hideout, a storm was brewing, as lightning tore across the sky. The leader commanded his underlings, "Bring me the girl," the one they called Li Mengyao. Dragged by her arms into the throne room, his followers threw Mengyao at the ruler's feet. The man ordered her to look up. She didn't dare refuse. In exchange for the power to claim her revenge, he would grant her the might of 100 demons. The leader warned Mengyao not to disappoint him. She averted her gaze. Elsewhere, Miss Ben was trying to cook for Wu Fu. The Ling family had offered the Shu clan shelter after their home was annihilated. It was the least they could do. But it looked like Qing Qing's chicken was about to become a lump of charcoal. Wu Fu was roused from his slumber by their chatter, and the first face he saw was Xia's. The dog's tail wagged furiously as it rushed to greet its master. A pleasant aroma drew the hungry young man toward the kitchen. "You've turned this chicken into a biochemical weapon," Lu Ling shrieked at her friend, unable to bear the smell. "It's just a little crispy," Qing Qing insisted. Miss Lu had met Miss Chu while shopping, and their friend had tagged along. Lu Ling was thankful she came. Otherwise, Wu Fu might have actually starved. Miss Chu bravely sampled her creation. "See, it's not poisonous." Meanwhile, Miss Lu reported that the vegetable vendor was scared half to death when Qing Qing arrived to do her shopping, with an escort of a dozen bodyguards. Just then, a door creaked open. It was Wu Fu. Miss Chu instinctively hid the charred chicken behind her back, but the main character's eyes were fixed on the culinary disaster. A fly landed on it, took 2 steps, and dropped dead. A silent alarm went off in his head. He quickly feigned a lack of appetite, deciding he could wait. The moment Wu Fu left, Miss Lu teased, Ching ching, your cooking has evolved. It can now kill flies on contact. Later, the entire leadership of the Shu family gathered. Shu Konglin introduced the young man to his clan. If Wu Fu needed anything, he could now ask the family elder directly. But the elder had gathered them at Wu Fu's request.
For a shocking purpose, he intended to annihilate the Zhongyang sect. The old man first chuckled, then froze in horror. A boy this young planned to destroy an entire sect, though not a major power. The Zhongyang school was far from weak. First, the Shu family had to fend off the sect's attacks. Shu Konglin's subordinates erupted in protest.
The Zhongyang was a major school. To act against them was a death wish. The old man's fist slammed the railing. He turned and apologized to Wu Fu for his subordinates' lack of discipline. The young man, however, was unfazed. The elder ordered them to begin their training. Shu Yingsheng examined the manual Wu Fu had given him. It detailed the highest forms of martial arts. This stunned even Shu Konglin. Disbelieving his ears, he had to see it himself. It was a legendary text. Just what other secrets did this young man hold? Konglin realized that by following Wu Fu, they could be risking their lives. But it was the right choice. The Shu family would join him to eradicate the Zhongyang sect. Wu Fu already had a plan. First, the Shu family members would train using his methods remaining completely hidden. They could not allow the Zhongyang sect to discover their refuge. Konglin agreed without hesitation. Back at the dorms, Wu Fu, who had previously insulted Nanwu Budo College, was now heading to its campus to retrieve his belongings. Wang Mong insisted on tagging along. The main character had already made enemies. He couldn't go without backup. Wu Fu explained he wasn't looking for a fight, but his friend was eager for some action. Suddenly, Wang Mang sensed a change. A red-haired girl in a black robe emerged from the end of the hall. An ominous aura surrounded her. At first, he didn't recognize her. Standing before them was Li Mingyao, looking hell-bent on getting revenge on her ex-boyfriend. She was not the same girl he once knew. She radiated a new power, a new darkness. Li Mingyao's eyes narrowed, studying Wu Fu with chilling intent. Finally, it clicked for Wang Meng. "Let me teach her a lesson," he declared, but the main character stopped him cold. "You are no match for her." Even at the deep knowledge level, Wang Mang stood no chance. Wu Fu brought him crashing back to reality. "You wouldn't be able to handle Xia'a, let alone her." Li Mingyao had reached the terrifying level of Yuan Shen. The main character told him to look closer. The space behind her warped with a dark mist. And from that fog, a horde of zombie-like creatures emerged. These were ghouls. Wang Mong trembled in absolute terror. The girl's spirit swore she would haunt Wu Fu for eternity, vowing to watch him die in agony. He hid behind his friend, horrified, as a massive wave of spiritual energy surged toward the main character. But Wu Fu looked closer. The spirit was clearly using a forbidden technique. Not that it would ever work against him. Just then, a door down the hall slammed open. Zhou Shen stormed out, ready to deal with whoever dared to disturb his sleep. But seeing ghostly apparitions in the dorm, the guy's eyes rolled back and he collapsed. His subordinates scrambled to help their boss, dragging him back into his room, while the spirits continued their menacing growls. Li Mingyao's curse would keep twisting Wu Fu's mind until his life force faded. But he just laughed. His ex-girlfriend could haunt him all she wanted. With a simple wave of his hand, his power shattered the ghostly illusions in a single instant. Today, Li Mingyao had only come to say hello. But Wu Fu shouldn't expect a peaceful future. The girl's ominous laughter echoed as she vanished. With the threat gone, a terrified Wang Meng could finally breathe. Li Mingyao really got on his nerves. Just then, Wu Zhoushan regained consciousness. He shouldn't have been anywhere near this mess. So the main character asked why he was even there. Zhoushan pointed to the shattered door of Wu's room. He'd come to replace it with a high-grade steel one. Wang Mong urged his friend to accept the offer. Wu Fu agreed, but he refused to be indebted to anyone. So he decided to bestow a legendary technique upon Zhou Shen. The guy immediately fell to his knees, bowing repeatedly, while calling our hero Master Wu Fu, froze completely taken by surprise. He announced he was leaving Yunhai University for a while. These exercises were designed to strengthen the body, perfect for basketball training. As his master, he ordered his new disciple to complete them, even ahead of schedule. The car was on the move. Their destination, Wang City. Unexpectedly for Wu Fu, Qingqing Luling, and Wang Mong were all coming along. Miss Bai was concerned for her students' safety, so she insisted the girls accompany him for protection. The famous South China Martial Arts Academy was located in Wang City. This entire journey was solely for negotiations. The students glanced at Miss Bai, waiting for her to speak. It turned out her family actually lived in Wang. Once they reached a district called Xiaolongba, she invited everyone to her home for a meal. Of course, she said that they were free to decline if they preferred to eat somewhere else. Suddenly, Wu Fu asked the driver to stop. They had arrived at their hotel. Wang Mong declared he would handle all the check-in procedures. With the room booked, the main characters suggested they discuss their plans inside. Two men were standing nearby. They couldn't help but notice the three stunning beauties gathered in one spot. Overhearing them, the girls blushed. Lu Ling decided to head home first. Wu Fu agreed it was a good idea. Wang Mong returned with the room key, and they all headed up. Ching Ching immediately leaped onto the huge comfy bed. Meanwhile, Lu Ling had received an invitation from the South China Martial Arts Academy. She proposed they meet with the academy tomorrow. Wu Fu simply said he didn't care. Ching Ching was confused. Why had he even come to Wang He was here to reclaim something that rightfully belonged to him within the city, where the influence of the South China Academy was immense. Because of that, Wu Fu believed they should be the ones coming to him. Wang Mong beamed with pride at his friend's unshakable confidence. The main character told his friends to freshen up and prepare to leave. It was time to make their move. Soon they arrived at a house. Wu Fu hadn't explained to his friends why they were there. Ching Ching guessed they weren't searching for a thing, but a person. Using the power of the Star Blade, Wu Fu could feel they were incredibly close. Wang Mong asked if they needed to smash through the wall. Wu Fu assured him that wouldn't be necessary. The door would open on its own. And just like that, the door creaked open, revealing an old man who greeted the group asking who they were. Wu Fu explained he came to the elder to discuss a proposition. The old man told them to leave. He claimed they had nothing to offer him in exchange for what he desired. But our hero's next words were sharp as a blade. Everyone knows the Huo family's power is built on its martial techniques. Along with the Luo family, he began. They are called the two giants of South China, but what no one knows is that the Huo family's techniques were lost long ago. Ching Ching urged her friend to stop talking nonsense, but he was certain of his words. My price is the complete martial arts of Hao Hie, son Shaws of the Huo clan. The very techniques your ancestor took with him to the grave. The old man froze. He was stunned by what he heard. Ching Ching had no idea a Huo family ancestor had passed away. Wang Mong was just as shocked. This was a secret very few people knew. The elder couldn't comprehend how a mere schoolboy could possess such knowledge. The man stared him down, then decided to listen. It couldn't hurt. Wu Fu warned that his deal might not interest the elders. The man simply told them to follow. But everything Wu Fu was about to say had to remain between them, never to be spoken of again. Wu assured him that this information wouldn't benefit him at all. But Wang Mong had already sent the message. A wave of panic washed over him, fearing the consequences. The old man knew. Like all the others, they had come for the fragment. As he held it out, the shard pulsed with a violent crimson light. In that same instant, Wu revealed his sword. The man's eyes widened in pure shock. The fragment shot through the air drawn to the blade, and to its master. At the Huo family's training base, Wu prepared to demonstrate their complete fighting style. He urged them to watch closely. Wu focused his entire being, and an ethereal tiger of pure flame erupted above him. With a fiery roar, he unleashed a devastating blow. The thick wall shattered into nothing but dust. The old man could hardly believe his eyes. This was truly the legendary Huo family martial technique. Wu admitted that he'd almost forgotten it. It had been a very long time after all. Ching Ching chided him for his arrogance, saying he spoke as if he'd known the technique for ages. Wang Mong, however, simply stared in awe. In his eyes, his friend was the definition of cool. The thunderous crash brought Mr. Huo's granddaughter running. She couldn't imagine how her grandfather could have done this. But opening the door, she found Ching Ching and Wang Mong. These were the last people she ever expected to see. What were they doing in her house? Mr. Huo was surprised they knew each other. But it was more than just that. They had a history of serious conflict. This was Shu, a student from the South China Martial Arts Academy. Just days ago, she'd come to Yunhai University to extend an invitation to Wu himself. She had no idea why he was now at her home. The main character stated his purpose clearly. He came to make a deal. But Shu begged her grandfather not to believe him. She had researched this young man and found his reputation to be less than ideal. The girl was convinced he was a fraud. She insisted Wu would only deceive her grandfather. Wang Mong and Ching Ching quietly laughed, hiding their faces. Shu clearly didn't understand what was really happening. Mr. Huo decided this wasn't the place for such talk. He suggested his granddaughter step aside with him. She still couldn't believe that Wu possessed the fighting style Gigi her family had been searching for. As they neared the gate, it was suddenly thrown open with a crash. 4 men dragged in a beaten victim, tossing him into the yard. Among them was Jin Kang, their arrogant young master. The main character watched the chaos with a calm gaze. Jin Kang, however, was stunned to see him. The Hu family was clearly not happy to see such a guest. Hearing the earlier destruction, Jin Kang assumed Mr. Huo was passing the long-lost Huo technique to a complete outsider. But Mr. Huo never claimed the technique was lost. Jin Kang's ego was enormous. Everyone knew that if he married his granddaughter Shuanger, the old man would never know a moment of peace. Jin Kang just laughed. He demanded Mr. Huo learn his place, then he would pretend this never happened. Wu couldn't believe the man's audacity. How could he be so cynical? He ordered his men to seize the Huo family. Shuanger and her grandfather bristled with fury. Ching Ching spat that Jin Kang's gang weren't even human. But Wu stopped her, saying it didn't concern them. He suggested they leave. Jin Kang noticed his arrival hadn't bothered Wu at all, and he refused to let them pass. Ching Ching insisted it was none of his business. Jin Kang then pointed a disrespectful finger right at the main character. "So this is the brat you brought with you." In the next instant, a fist connected with his face. Wu moved like lightning. Jin Kang shot backwards like a cannonball hitting the wall and crumbling to the ground. Everyone present froze, stunned by the sudden blow. Wu's voice was ice. "Point that finger at me again, and you will die." The lackeys rushed to help their young master. Wu then noticed a new presence. Behind him stood a strange old man in a dark hooded robe. He reached out a hand towards Wu, but didn't grab him. Jin Kang screamed at his servants to kill his attacker. He even yelled at the old man for being too slow and for not following orders, but his men simply told him to look up. Hanging in the air above them was the Wu Star Sword. Fear finally gripped Jin Kang. The main character told him to thank his luck. Today, he wasn't in the mood for killing. Wu called for his friends to follow him. Schwanger was amazed by his courage. He showed no fear in the face of absolute power. She realized he was a truly great man. Jin Kang demanded to know who hit him. Schwanger proudly declared that this was her master's. New disciple Jin Kang didn't believe it for a second. He turned to her grandfather, demanding confirmation. The villain just chuckled darkly. He turned and ordered his servants to follow him. He assumed the boy wasn't a true follower of the Huo. Family's technique. As he left, Jin Kang promised to kill Mr. Huo. Schwanger was terrified with no idea what to do now. Mr. Huo couldn't believe what was happening. This was never supposed to unfold like this. His granddaughter suggested they ask Wu for help. With no other options, the man finally agreed. Just then, Wu Fu sneezed. Could it be someone was speaking his name? Wang Wang was shocked. He never imagined his friend could get sick. This weather is truly deceptive. You have to take care of yourself. The main character then sensed it, a hidden gaze watching from the corner. Wang Wang grew suspicious. He suggested they head back to the bar. As the friends left the sidewalk, Schwanger watched them. The girl gave chase. She darted from one wall to the next, but after a turn, they had simply vanished. She was at a dead end. How was this possible? A single finger tapped her shoulder. She spun around and saw Wu Fu. The guy had guessed her plan. He knew she was following them. Ching Ching called her a sly fox, demanding to know why Schwanger was spying on them. Without a second thought, the girl gave her excuse. She was just worried that Janine's group would attack them. She only wanted to protect them. Ching Ching looked her up and down, threatening to puncture her silicone airbags if Schwanger didn't tell the real truth. Finally, she admitted it. She came to ask for help. The friends turned around and headed in the opposite direction. They didn't care about her foolish problems. Desperate, Schwanger shouted that the Jin family holds incredible power, and now the He family has contacted them. Wu Fu stopped in his tracks. Ching Ching slapped her forehead. The guy asked about the Jin family's situation. Apparently, Wang Jin Kang's cultivation isn't that impressive, but his family's influence has drawn in many talented cultivators. Schwanger urged him to be careful. Wu Fu simply agreed. The girl couldn't understand why he would help her get even with the Jin family. Schwanger then yelled out that she would never marry him, not even if he succeeded in destroying her enemy. Wang Wang and Ching Ching stared stunned by the outburst. Wu Fu told her to stop making things up. He just needs powerful opponents. Schwanger never expected such a simple reason. They arrived at the hotel once more. Lu Ling met them at the entrance. The hall was filled with people, and all eyes were on Wu Fu's group. They were all from the South China Martial Arts Academy. These people acted as if they owned the place. They needed to be careful. The group saw the main character as a hillbilly from some unknown university who dared to summon them here. They planned to beat him unconscious. So Wu Fu offered to fight them all. The academy students were outraged. How could he act so dismissive after forcing them to come? They rushed into a brawl. A guy standing aside called an ambulance for Wu Fu. The crowd completely surrounded the main character. Li watched from above. She observed the fight from the second floor. She realized their combined strength was not enough to challenge Wu Fu. The students had him cornered. He deliberately let them close in. And in an instant, every student from the academy was sent flying. Wu Fu had blasted them away with his raw power. Captain Qin, whom our hero met at the competition, was quietly watching the chaos unfold. This was his final opponent. Xia barked happily, but behind her, a huge brutish man threw the dog against the wall. He called the poor animal a stray Ching Ching, and Ling cried out in worry and ran to help the pet. But the main character would not let his companion be harmed. The attacker was a friend of Jin Kang. They were looking for Wu Fu. They had come to take revenge. Lai Mong Yao was thrilled that the Jin family had found her ex-boyfriend. This was a golden opportunity. Ching Ching and Ling barely held back the enraged Xia. Jin Kang suggested they beg on their knees for mercy, if they valued their lives. Miss Shu grew worried for Jin Kang. He had done more than enough to anger Wu Fu, but the arrogant man wouldn't listen. The main character drew his star sword and rushed at the offender. The Jin family bodyguard intervened, moving to protect the young master at all costs. Jin Kong's lackeys believed Wu Fu was doomed. The bodyguard shielded the master with a huge blue barrier. But that was nothing to our main character. Jin Kang taunted Wu Fu for daring to stand in his way with such puny strength. The bodyguard panicked. His defenses were useless. A storm of blades descended upon their group.
All he could do was scream in agony, but Jin Kang held up a hand begging Wu Fu to stop. Our hero declared that no one
dares to disrespect Xia and ordered them out of his hotel. Terrified, Jin Kang swore they would leave at once. His servants grabbed his women and scrambled for the exit. But Li Mong Yao was furious with this outcome. A sinister, pitch green light ignited in her palm. She took aim at the fleeing Jin Kang and struck him from behind. The young master collapsed at the hotel entrance as lightning tore across the sky. 4 cars screeched to a halt. Li Mong Yao smirked, gloating that Wu Fu was as good as dead this time. The Jin family had arrived hungry for vengeance against Jin Kong's killer, and they were certain that Wu Fu was the culprit. They roared that a member of their clan did not deserve such a dishonorable end, vowing he wouldn't just walk away. Wu Fu held Xia close, completely surrounded. It seemed these fools were eager to seek their own. A destruction. A warrior from the Jin family lunged at our hero, but in a flash, Wu Fu vanished and reappeared elsewhere, leaving his attacker grasping at empty air. Jin Kang was the family's sole heir. They declared that the students of the South China Martial Arts Academy and
Wu's friends would all be buried alongside him. Fear gripped the onlookers, and they tried to flee. For their cowardice, they were met with bullets in the
back. The matriarch of the Jin family had given the order. No one would escape her wrath. In an instant, Wu used his inhuman speed and closed the distance with the blue-haired man. The thug had never witnessed such terrifying speed. Half of our hero's face turned a demonic black, and his eye blazed with a crimson light. He assured the man he didn't kill their heir, but the fool refused to listen.
For his ignorance, Wu Fu simply touched his forehead, and his life was extinguished in an instant. The Jin family watched in
absolute horror. Captain Qin swore he'd never have crossed Wu Fu had he known the monster he was dealing with. Li Mong Yao laughed with chilling glee. Her ex had brought this upon himself. But Wu Fu knew she was there. Realizing she'd been spotted, the girl vanished into thin air. The Jin family matriarch now approached Wu Fu. She sneered that she didn't care who he was. No one in all of Wuhan would dare to protect him now. Our hero paused for a moment. As he took a single step towards her, the floor beneath him cracked under the pressure. This old woman had some power. She demanded Wu Fu accept his punishment, then tried to sneak up on him from behind a deadly halberd in her hands. But the attack never landed. Luo Shi interfered using the very technique that Wu had taught her.
With a single move, she neutralized the old woman. Everyone nearby froze in disbelief. Mr. Ben declared that the Jin
family doesn't rule all of Wuhan. The 6 deities of the Luo family had arrived. They had no idea what kind of god they were truly facing. Luo Shi rushed to Wu Fu's side, asking if he was all right. Our hero was confident that the Jin family was powerless to harm him. The matriarch was still alive, coughing weakly. The double sword tactic was over. It seemed that in her grief, the old crone could no longer tolerate loneliness. The woman was convinced Wu Fu murdered her brother. Therefore, she decreed he must prepare for his own demise. There would be no chance of escape. Luo Shu tried to speak, but Wu stopped her. He stated with cold confidence that he did not kill Jin Kang, but since the old woman dared to raise a hand against him, he fully intended to kill. He? Qin King was thrilled by his declaration. The matriarch shrieked, calling him a lousy brat. Our hero heard her insult and decided it was time for her punishment. A wave of sword aura crashed towards the old woman. She barely managed to withstand the blow. The young man's power was staggering. He was only at the Yalang level. This man was far, far stronger than they had ever imagined. Wu Fu unleashed the Star Sword technique. A brilliant energy erupted from his palm, enveloping the entire space. The old woman and her kin braced for impact, but no one was harmed. Is something wrong? Li Mong Yao panicked. Wu Fu was now heading straight for her. He had spotted her hiding long ago. He grabbed the girl and threw her at the feet of the Jin family. The matriarch finally understood who he was after. Li Mong Yao played dumb, feigning confusion. The old woman asked if Wu Fu was implying he was framed because of her. Our hero simply stated that their family was not worthy of his explanation. They could either accept that truth or get lost. One of the men called him a fool, not realizing who he was speaking to. Ignoring them, Luo Shi and Wu Fu turned to leave. She then invited him to visit her. A family's home. Her grandfather was eager to meet him. Qing Qing wanted to tag along. A bodyguard asked the matriarch what they should do now. She ordered them to find out exactly who that young man was. She had to inform the clan of her brother's death, or they would all be killed for their failure. Lying on the floor, Li Mongyao began to laugh. The matriarch demanded to know. What was so funny? The girl simply replied that she knew Wu Fu. Later at the Luo family residence, Wu greeted the clan. Their grandmother met them personally. This morning, she said her granddaughter told her that Wu Fu was a very special person. When Lucy joked that Wu Fu was also quite handsome, a flustered Ching Ching shot her a look that could kill. She playfully pinched Wu Fu's arm, but he just turned around completely oblivious to her intentions. Ching Ching could only mutter "idiot" under her breath, frustrated he couldn't take a hint. Just then, the grandmother dismissed the guests to rest, but her gaze lingered on Wu Fu. She wanted to speak with him alone. Inside the hall, the matriarch got straight to the point. She knew all about his conflict with the Jin family. She knew he was the one who helped them elevate their Zuo sword technique. For that, the family was deeply indebted. To Wu Fu, it was a simple matter. But to her, it meant she couldn't just stand by and watch this gifted young man walk to his death. The Lu family was simply no match for the Jin family's power. She urged Wu Fu to return to safety. Wu Fu immediately saw the truth. This wasn't just concern, it was fear of being dragged down with him. A small smirk appeared on his face. He was amused by how little she truly understood about the Jin family's supposed might. She spoke of them as titans with Jin Kang as their untouchable first heir. Certain Wu Fu had picked a fight he couldn't possibly win. She had no idea who the true monster was. Meanwhile, the Jin family was trying to break Li Mengyao for information. But the girl swore she wasn't lying. Enraged, the lady grabbed her by the hair, trying to beat the truth out of her. Mengyao's face was a canvas of bruises, yet she insisted the problem wasn't with Wu Fu alone. There were already deep rifts between them. She spat at them to go ask Wu Fu themselves if they dared. Her words were confirmed, and the order was given. 10 elite guards were sent to the Lu family's territory to find the scoundrel. She would make him pay for his insolence with his own blood. A cruel smile formed on Mengyao's lips, hoping this would be Wu Fu's last day. A panicked maid burst into the hall. The news was dire. Jin Rong had dispatched 10 guards. They had already reached the mountainside. The matriarch warned Wu Fu again about the Jin family's power, but Wu Fu's reply was chillingly calm. When they arrive, he said, they shouldn't even dream of leaving this place alive. On the slope of Mount Luan, Wu Fu stood alone, facing 10 elite Jin family guards and Jin Rong herself. The woman sneered, assuming he was relying on the Lu family for protection. Lucy warned him that every single guard was at the virtual energy sphere level, and there were 10 of them. Jin Rong gave a signal. 2 hostages were dragged from the crowd. Do you know these 2? She taunted. In the clutches of her guards were the head of the Hu family and his granddaughter Shuanger. Wu Fu's expression turned to ice. It's the Hu family? Ching Ching gasped. Lucy was shocked she knew them, but Miss Shu had visited them just recently. But before the main character could even ask what they wanted, Jin Rong gave the final order, kill him. The guards laughed. You think some trash at the Yan Yin level has the right to challenge our young master? They promised to tear him to pieces, to make him beg for a death that wouldn't come easily. Wu Fu merely scoffed at their empty threats. You honestly believe any of you will leave here alive? Ching Ching desperately wanted to help her friend, but Grandma Lu held her back, staring at Wu Fu with wide eyes. This boy, he's... Her words died in her throat as the clouds overhead suddenly parted. 3 silhouettes descended from the heavens. The impact of their landing was immense, sending the guards scattering like leaves in the wind. A powerful aura washed over the mountain. Hanobo and Enzi Wang had arrived. Jin Rong's eyes widened when she saw the Dan Master. So you called for help? She sneered. The elder ignored her, handing Wu Fu a small box. Without Brother Bai, the elder stated, you'd already be dead. Wu Fu accepted the gift with a nod of thanks. With this, he declared for all to hear, I will slaughter every last one of these villains. Even Hano was taken aback by his confidence. Bai Wen found Wu Fu unbelievably arrogant, but he still couldn't wait to see how this confrontation would unfold. Wu Fu met his gaze. Watch carefully, he said. Today, I will test my sword using the Jin family as whetstones. Enraged, Jin Rong screamed the order to attack. As the soldiers rushed in, Wu Fu finally drew his sword. His blade hummed as he brought it close, his posture perfect. In a flash, he vanished, reappearing in an instant. The main character soared into the air above them. Crimson sparks ignited around him, forging into countless blades of pure energy. All of them were aimed at the Jin family members below. A technique of 1,000 blades rained down upon them. Jin Rong held her breath in disbelief. Bai Wan was stunned, having never witnessed such a powerful art. As the smoke cleared, those watching could only stare in awe and admiration at the main character's overwhelming power. With 2 bodies already on the ground, it was Wu Fu's turn to strike. He charged toward the remaining Jin family fighters. They threw up defensive barriers, but for the main character, it was useless. A futile obstacle. He effortlessly slammed his opponent backward. The Jin family raged at Wu Fu's audacity. He was at a pathetic Yuansheng level. yet dared to challenge 10 of them. He needed to be put in his place. Qingqing and Luxi rushed to offer their aid, but Wu
Firmly refused. He assured them these fighters were not even worthy of being his rivals. They were merely immortal practitioners. But could he truly defeat them all alone? The main character simply told them to watch him closely.
With a deft twirl of the star sword, he advanced on his enemies. Nearby, Bayan stepped toward his elder brother. He declared that raw power didn't matter, as long as it was at the level of spiritual energy. Han
Po asked for his prediction. The elder admitted that the mystical weapon was indeed an incredibly
powerful sword. There was nothing like it on this entire planet. It swelled in size, pulsating with power, eager to
clash with the Jin family. The fighters braced for the attack. At the sword's tip, Wu Fu gave a single command. Moi me.
Sword! A colossal torrent of energy erupted, piercing through his opponent's bodies. Luxi's grandmother watched in disbelief. Could this guy truly be at the Yuanshang level? Jinrong shrieked hysterically, begging Wu Fu to stop. His fighters scrambled to defend themselves, and the others, but it was all in vain. They summoned a protective dome, but Wu Fu assured Jinrong that the reason for their defeat was the star sword itself. Without it, the brief moment the main character could have been killed would have meant nothing. Wu Fu smirked. If you truly do not fear death. With that, he released the sword. Then come and fight me. Bayan was shocked by his sheer arrogance. He knew just how much stronger his
opponents were supposed to be. He was almost killed. But Hanpo, who knew Wu Fu well, was calm. If he acted this boldly, it meant there was no
risk at all. The Jin family sneered. Let's see how he handles us without his precious weapon. Without it, he was just trash. Wu Fu simply channeled his energy into a single fist and struck. A devastating hole ripped through his opponent's chest. With such a low cultivation level, he was leagues above this so-called master. The others stared in disbelief. Their friend was killed in a single blow. The next opponent unleashed his divine sword formation. Ethereal blue lines of light surrounded Wu Fu. He paused for a heartbeat, then slammed his fist into the ground. The shockwave sent his opponent flying. Main character then turned to the rest of the Jin family, but they were just as pitifully weak. After his next move, they all collapsed, clutching their heads in agony. Only Jinrong remained with Li Mingyao standing beside her. Wu Fu walked toward them. Who killed Jin Kong? He demanded. As he spoke, his gaze locked onto the eyes of his ex-girlfriend. Gripped by mortal terror, she confessed everything. She was the one who killed the Jin family heir, Jin. Rong was utterly stunned by the revelation. It was all over. But Li Mingyao refused to go down so easily. She summoned the power of 100 demonic deities. A pitch-black flag unfurled behind her as crimson motes filled the air, like drops of blood. But then a colossal red hand appeared in the sky. This was Wu Fu's power. Jinrong stared in horror, realizing what kind of
monster she had aligned herself with. The main character seized Li Mingyao, crushing her in the grip of that giant crimson fist. Now she would pay the price for angering him. Wu Fu slammed her into the ground at his feet. Mingyao immediately begged for mercy because
she didn't want to die. Tears streamed down her face. Wu Fu simply kicked her aside and commanded her to get lost. Qingqing wondered what she had gained from this pathetic attempt at revenge. But Li Mingyao still had one. Last trick up her sleeve. Her crazed eyes fell upon Miss Shu and Xiaowa. The dark flag materialized once more, in the air. Be careful, Lucy screamed. An ominous smoke enveloped Qingqing, and the dog lifting them high into the air, the girl cried out to Wu Fu for help before her eyes fluttered shut. Miss Shu and Xiaowa were now her hostages, but the main character would never let her escape. Trapped within the smoke, Xiaowa began to bark wildly. No one could have predicted this. Wu Fu's dog could actually transform. In a flash, Xiaowa saved both himself and Qingqing. But now they were plummeting toward the ground. They were rescued by Wu Fu and set down gently. The dog barked with joy, licking the girl's nose. Hey, stop that, she laughed. Lucy rushed too, Miss Shu's side. But there was no escape for Li Mingyao. Wu Fu summoned the star sword and plunged it deep into his ex-girlfriend's body. She collapsed a few feet away from Jinrong. Grandma Lucy ordered her assistant to retrieve her. Mingyao tried desperately
to crawl away, but the girls quickly surrounded both her and Jinrong. The old woman was at a loss for what
to do now. Xuan mused that the Jin family's feud was a path of no return. They could never hope to get revenge on Wu Fu. He would be the one to end this conflict. With the truth revealed, he suggested they could finally leave all this hatred in the past. Jinrong stayed silent, but Ziwang spoke up. Since Wu Fu is his master's friend, if the Jin family tried to harm him in the future, they would definitely provide their support. Wu Fu coldly asked who Ziwang thought he was. Bayan called the main character reckless, but Li Mongyao wasn't finished. She suggested that she and Jinrong join forces. to put an end to their common enemy. The woman claimed that if anyone was to blame for this, it was Wu Fu.
For his complete and utter disrespect, Jin Rong decided to unite their forces, saying they could sort out their differences later.
After they had finally defeated Wu Fu, Qing Qing begged him to be careful. Jin Rong and Meng Yao were playing with fire. They took up arms against the main character. Lai Meng Yao was sure that this time, they could finally put an end to him. Wu Fu wished them both a trip to hell and vanished from sight. Jin Rong was baffled, as her magical attack hit nothing but air. His weapon, but the target was gone. The very ground split apart racing towards her. That's when Meng Yao saw him, Wu Fu appearing right behind. Jin Rong. The girl screamed in terror, but it was far too late. The old woman turned slowly, only to be met with the cold gleam of his blade. In a single merciless strike, Wu Fu cleaved her head in two. Li Meng Yao couldn't believe it. Jin Rong was dead. Just like that. Thunder roared across the heavens, as if signaling a new era for the 30-year-old Wu Tong. It seems Grandma Lu knew little about the true power of the Star Sword technique. Wu Fu possessed an unbelievable level of skill. She commanded her followers, from this moment on, protect Wu Fu at all costs, even if the entire Jin family comes for him. Meng Yao wondered, why hadn't he killed her too? He glanced back and the girl was certain. He couldn't bring himself to do it. Ever since he had left her side, she'd thought of him constantly. But Wu Fu just stopped and laughed. A chilling sound that left Li Meng Yao utterly confused. In the next instant, the Star Sword pierced through her body. Wu Fu hadn't struck her earlier, because he refused to stain his sacred weapon with her filthy blood. The girl let out a final bitter laugh, cursing his name with her dying breath. Wu Baiyan warned his brother, if you hadn't concealed your face, you would have surely fallen to Wu Fu's blade today. But Hanno disagreed. You can't
Keep relying on intuition. Enemies are everywhere, and they need you. Wu Baiyan couldn't recall his brother ever caring for such worldly affairs. He knew one thing for sure, they had to eliminate Wu Fu, and soon. Meanwhile, at the Wuliang sect,
Main hall, a man held up a soul vessel reporting Jinrong's demise. Another elder appeared sneering. He considered Li Meng Yao to be the master's pawn. Clearly, the elder would have to teach her a harsh lesson. In a hotel room, Qing Qing was about to take a bath. But as she prepared to leave, something infuriated her. Xia was sitting right by the entrance, staring at her naked form.
when Miss Shu saw him, she furiously tossed the vile dog out of her room. Wu Fu, who was nearby, overheard the girl insulting Xia, calling him disgusting. She sneered that his owner must be just as perverted as his pet. He might as well. But Qing Qing
never finished her sentence. She was cut short by Wu Fu's sudden appearance. He coolly asked her to continue her little speech. The girl demanded he leave, shutting her eyes tightly for some reason. But Wu Fu simply said they needed to find cover somewhere else, leaving an angry Qing Qing fuming. The next day at the main gate of the South China Martial Arts Academy, this was the most prestigious martial arts school in the entire city. Lu Ling's outfit was daring and eye-catching, which seriously annoyed Miss Shu, especially since her own chest was nowhere near as impressive. Wu Fu told them to quiet down and not
forget their mission. Just then, Xia barked. A red-haired man stood nearby, assuming Wu Fu had come looking
for a fight. The main character calmly asked what he was talking about. The man
pointed a finger at a nearby thug who was bothering someone. That goon thought he had intimidated a student from the martial arts academy.
When he was ignored, he decided to drop all pretense of politeness. The punk with the bat spotted a man with glasses calling him a four-eyed bookworm and ordering him to halt. Lu Ling suggested they should intervene, but Wu Fu and Qing Qing completely ignored her, happily munching on some delicious watermelon. Lu Ling couldn't believe how calm the three of them were. The bully with
the bat declared the guy with glasses would be the first person he'd beat down today. A second later, the
loudmouth was already eating dirt. The student with glasses had put him in his place. Wu Fu smiled. He'd come to the right place. The glasses-wearing student demanded to know why the thug was looking for him. An immense power radiated from his body. Just then, Wu Fu was approached by two students from the academy. They didn't recognize the main character, though. They'd seen him in the hotel lobby, and assuming he was trash, decided to assert their dominance. One of them walked up to Wu Fu, grabbing his shoulder to spin him around. They had an old nasty tradition: make the scum kneel and force them to sing. But something felt horribly wrong. When the main character turned his head, the students' jaws dropped. They recognized him instantly and
were completely stunned. Their leader quickly faked a hemorrhoid attack and fled, leaving Wu Fu
to his friends. The protagonist then offered Xia the spirit stones in his opponent's pockets, guessing there'd be plenty.
The bully thought his opponent had a death wish. His friends thought Wu Fu was just bluffing, but then
Xia transformed into a colossal beast. The creature that was once a tiny puppy had now grown to a terrifying size. He let out a mighty roar, so powerful the wind itself seemed to bend around them. The dog's menacing barks echoed through the air. The thugs didn't know what it was about to do. Qing calmly explained that he wanted to eat their spirit.
Stones. It was his way of asking for a meal. Defeated, they handed over every last spirit stone to Wu Fu's pet. The main character was quite pleased with
This outcome. Lu Ling then mentioned that the South China Martial Arts Academy was full of talented students. She advised him to let, with their guard down, the students were drained of their crystals. But Shia returned with just enough. A collective sigh of relief filled the air. One of them had saved his crystals for 2 long years, the other for 3. Just then, a new student arrived, drawn by rumors of a fight. A commotion erupted at the main gate. Wu, our main character, instantly knew who the troublemaker was. The challenger boasted he could knock out Wu with a single blow. The only alternative, get on your knees and beg for mercy.
for mercy, and only then would their captain consider forgiveness. This so-called captain was at the eternal world level, a being who could
erase Wu in mere seconds. In response, our main character simply slapped the upstart. The blow sent him flying several meters away. Lu Ling found it amusing. These academy students use their minds for such stupid threats. The crowd standing by was completely stunned. They never expected this. If you're so useless, you'd better shut your mouth. Suddenly, 3 arrows shot towards our main character. He noticed and stopped them in time.
A teacher approached the tense group praising Wu for his skills.
Abilities like that give you the right to be arrogant at our academy's gates. If I had come a moment later, he added grimly, one of my students would be dead. The boy disagreed, refusing to believe he could die to a mere Jansen-level cultivator. He insisted he could fight warriors of that rank. The teacher sighed. I can't stop you from seeking your own death. The student vowed to make Wu pay for the humiliation. The teacher, meanwhile, had heard much about Yunhai University and was glad to finally meet its students. Lu Ling asked sharply, Are all the students in this academy arrogant idiots? The man smirked. I assume you are the same. This infuriated her. They were led into a spacious hall for a proper confrontation between Wu and the academy's students. The teacher said, You are the first to come to us seeking a fight. But his student added, And he will be the last to do so. With that, he declared himself Wu's opponent. Our main character, however, considered him far too weak. Are there any worthy cultivators left in this academy? He wondered aloud. The student was beside himself with rage at the insult. He rushed forward, fists clenched, roaring that Wu couldn't even withstand one blow. And yet you came to our academy to prove yourself. The spectators gasped in shock. The person standing before them wasn't Wu, but a clone. The real Wu was already behind the academy student. The teacher yelled for them to stop, but it was too late. They both swung their fists. Their fists collided with a thunderous impact. The student had never felt such overwhelming power. He felt his bones crack as his body was thrown violently to the side. Wu stated calmly, You don't even have the strength to resist me. Bring someone who actually knows how to fight. The teacher checked the fallen opponent. He was still breathing, a good sign. This academy is full of gifted practitioners, he warned. Don't think no one here can hurt you. Just then, Lu Ling turned her attention to a Mr. Jan, a member of the Yunhai University Student Council. Last time you and your comrades came to our institution? Just to show off. Now it's our turn. We'll see how you continue to exalt yourself above everyone else now. Qing loved the speech. Just then, a new group of students entered. We can help you accomplish what you came here for, they offered.
They believed every other school was just trash compared to them. In their opinion, the Yunhai students were far too arrogant.
You've barely arrived, and you've already beaten up everyone who got in your way. And they were just ordinary students. Miss Qing shot back at them for their lack of politeness. Those people deserved to be punished. And now, the guy snarled, we're going to condemn you. He felt Qing was completely impolite. She deserves punishment even more than they did. The girl turned to Wu. Wu Fu beat him to a pulp. Our main character didn't react, but when the guy heard the name, he recognized him. It's a pleasant surprise. And to see you here, fate itself must have brought you to me. The entire city of Wu is looking for you. If I hand you over to the Jin family, a reward of 10 million will be mine. He pulled out a wanted poster. Look at your picture. Wu Fu frowned. I'm that scary? They couldn't even portray me properly. This is infuriating. The guy prepared to arrest him. You should take this more seriously, he warned. Lu Ling sneered. Why use a sword to kill a chicken? I'll deal with him myself. The girl took out her weapon. Her opponent's lackeys noticed her insult immediately. Did she just call our boss a chicken? The leader snarled. I'm not deaf. I heard it myself. No need to repeat it. But now, everyone had definitely heard. I'm ready to fight the garbage from Yunhai University. Everyone watch carefully. The guy flew into the air, dodging Lu Ling's initial strike. A member of his gang boasted, Our elder is excellent. With a spear, he never misses. Lu Ling remained unimpressed. The guy taunted her, Come on, little girl, and test my spear. She just grinned. Lu Ling could more than stand up for herself. Qing wanted to help, but Wu stopped her. She can handle this on her own, he said, completely confident in the girl's power, despite her opponent being a master of South Chinese martial arts. This was an elite arts academy filled with gifted practitioners. Wu wisely told Qing to just watch for now. The brute then demanded Lu Ling apologize, and then entertain him. Only then would he let her go. But Lu Ling wanted to test his twisted determination. She warned him not to regret his heartlessness. In a flash, he struck at Lu Ling. The force of the attack was staggering, forcing her to unleash her full power just to defend. He sneered at her display of power. A fighter of her caliber should just give up. He didn't have time to waste on her.
From the sidelines, his cronies cheered him on. Qing shouted for him to get down there, so she could personally end him.
He mockingly invited her to join the fight. But Lu Ling commanded his attention. She was his true opponent and offered to test the strength of her whip. He taunted her, telling her to scratch his back with it. Wu watched a flicker of surprise in his eyes. Her opponent was preparing his signature technique. It seemed he'd completely lost his composure. The fool lunged from behind, but Lu Ling was ready. She countered with a blinding lash of her whip. The attack left a sharp cut across his face. "Is that all you've got?" she challenged. He grit his teeth and began circling her at blinding speed. He thought his speed would overwhelm her, a fatal miscalculation. With a single fluid motion, Lu Ling swung her whip. It coiled perfectly around his body in an instant. The man was completely immobilized, held fast in her grip. Lu Ling smirked, asking who was entertaining whom now. But Wu urged her not to waste time. They had a far more important mission. The defeated enemy immediately begged for forgiveness. He admitted his grave mistake, pleading with her to let him go. He swore he would never dare to cross them again. Xia barked fiercely. Wu cut to the chase, demanding to know about the blade fragments. He knew this loudmouth was also searching for them. But then he sensed another presence nearby. The main character's instincts were screaming. He wasn't wrong. It turned out 2 other groups had asked about the fragments. And now they were all in the student council's guest room. The man begged for his life one last time. Meanwhile, inside that very same guest room, lifeless bodies were scattered across the floor. Wu led the way from the council office. Lu Ling moved to open the door, but Wu stopped her with a hand on her shoulder. He could feel a chilling aura from within. Qing recoiled from a pungent, disgusting smell. Xia began to bark wildly at the door. Then a dark trickle of blood seeped from the crack beneath it. Lu Ling insisted they leave at once. This place was a death trap. But it was already too late. Outside, an enormous crowd had completely surrounded them. Someone shouted they saw people rush inside. He claimed to have heard blood-curdling screams. The news spread like wildfire to the Academy's student council president. The killers were still inside. They had to hurry and save whoever was left. But the president feared the absolute worst. Even if the killer was cornered in that room, Li and the others were most likely already dead. Just then, the door creaked open. A woman named Miss Ju stepped out. "What is the meaning of this?" she demanded. "First, you provoke our students, and now you accuse us of murder." She snarled that outsiders were forbidden from ever setting foot in the student council office. How could they claim innocence after being found at the scene? But Qing shot back. "If you weren't hiding the blade fragments in here, then no one would have come here in the first place." His eyes widened in realization. Wu and his friends were also after the fragments. These mysterious relics? He drew a weapon in a flash, pressing it to Qing's throat. "Who sent you?" he demanded. "Was it Yunhai University, or did you come here on your own?" Wu's calm voice cut through the tension. He declared that he needed no one's permission to reclaim what was rightfully his. The president scoffed at his sheer audacity. "Don't pretend the entire world belongs to you," he sneered. "Just who do you think you are? To murder our students in cold blood. You are not leaving this place alive." Wu calmly suggested they find the real culprit instead of blaming innocent people. But they warned him not to test their patience. One of them spoke up, remembering a rumor. The legendary blade belonged to Wu. "Then perhaps you can explain where these deep sword marks on the walls came from?" A wave of suspicion washed over the crowd. The students began to believe that Wu and his friends were truly the murderers. If they were innocent after all, why were they in such a hurry to escape? Qing frantically looked around. Her heart sank as she saw the fresh sword marks scarring the walls. Those weren't there when they first arrived. "Stop," Lu Ling pleaded. "We didn't do this. Our being here is just a coincidence." But the president's face was a mask of rage. He couldn't believe these outsiders would dare kill a council member. Over some pathetic broken fragments, the main character stood his ground. "We did not kill anyone," Wu stated firmly. The president scoffed, revealing they were on the verge of summoning the dragon itself. Even as Wu and his allies continue their denials, a chilling presence watches from the shadows. On a nearby rooftop stand Bai Yuan and Ziwang. They know nothing of Wu's origins, but his arrogance is a storm on the horizon. If they don't stop him, he could shatter their grand design. Meanwhile, Dongyang School has seized the shards, and the Jin family patriarch is set to leave the country. News of Jin Rong and Jin Kang's demise has spread like wildfire, and everyone believes Wu's days are numbered.
This is the perfect cover for Bai Yuan, because her ultimate prize, the spirit accumulation pill, is nearing completion.
The final pieces are falling into place. If you're ready for the next chapter, seal your pact by subscribing, and share your favorite moment in the comments below. Until our paths cross again, stay strong.